Just hanging out.
All fired
It's our
up and nowhere to go.
monthly 3-hour
Fun fest.
fun fest.
That's what I like. Like my wife said, what would you rather do? Be doing that and irritating people, or would you rather watch television? I said, well, I think I'd rather go there. It's more entertaining.
Hey, you know what I found out last night?
What?
What?
I thought you pulled that off.
I did, and then on there.
Okay, it's not. I'll ignore it.
Yeah, please do. Just draw a line through reading.
You ready?
Did you figure that out? The difference or whatever it was?
Do what?
Hey, Julie, we're ready to start.
17th, we'll be prepared for it.
You've been around the camp.
Sing with our
We got a
attorney.
fireplace.
No,
No,
Please join me.
no,
somebody has.
no, not me.
Not that it's a bad thing.
No, I love that smell.
Yeah, same here.
Isolating yourself from us, huh?
I don't blame her, really.
She's heard all the attorney comments that she wants to hear.
It's harder to hit her with a
Okay,
snowball.
now meeting order. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Scott, you want to make an introduction? We've got some people here.
Yeah, appreciate a couple guests coming up today to help us better understand this Regional Economic Development Commission that we've talked about several months ago. I've spared the council more discussion during our budget process so we could focus on that, but we're through that. And so I'm going to come back to it. Monroe County, Owen County, and Brown County have the opportunity to form an economic development region. You may recall, oh gosh, last winter, the council anointed me, that's more punishment than a reward, the responsibility of seeking new revenue outside of property and income tax sources. And that's where the innkeeper's tax came in, the gate fee came in, and this Regional Economic Development Commission. So this is a result of what the council asked me to do, identify new funding buckets. And so this is one of the three, I mentioned all three, that stuck out to me as kind of some low-hanging fruit and something that, you know, we've never been able to access before for the types of things that we are currently behind in funding, such as infrastructure, housing, public safety, and employment type of issues. We know we struggle with finding employees to do everything from cleaning this building to building your house and everything in between. And so those are the types of things that these economic development grants from the federal U.S. Department of Commerce can help us fund. So that's how we got to this point. And we're lucky to have two people here who know way more than I do about this. One of them, Greg Jones from Southern Indiana Development Commission, is one of these regional groups. And so, and you've been in that position for several years. I'll give you a second here to introduce yourself. If we have any questions, he can answer those, right? He can tell us what his experience is with those.
And what kind of fruit?
We can determine what fruit we like. That's the beauty of this thing. As a county, we like certain kinds of fruit. We can determine what we like to eat.
Cherry cobbler?
Yes, cherries on the menu, and et cetera. And so Greg has been functioning in this role for several years as the director of that similar regional organization for a southern group of counties. We are one of, I think, 6 counties in the state that are not a part of this type of region and able to access these types of funds. And so you can imagine over, just say 20 years, all of the needs that we've had that we could have leveraged bond funds with, or reduced the need for bond funds to fund, leveraged our tax funds to make those funds go further and sustain our rates. It's millions of dollars probably based on the projects we've seen develop that could have been funded in part by some of these funds. So the other interesting part here is the innkeeper's tax has allowed us for the first time to have a pool of funds that we can actually significantly match with major projects, right? I mean, right now we're working off debt to fund major projects. The innkeeper's tax can be the seed money for a match to new federal grants for the types of projects that we have deferred maintenance on. So we've got new local innkeeper's tax funding, and this would be new federal grant dollars that, you know, in my experience, putting a scenario like that together is something we have not previously been able to do. I know most of our other counties, Monroe is kind of a shining example. They've got the ability to raise private capital to match for major projects. They also don't have access to these funds and haven't traditionally. Owen County, Marcy Johnson has been before us. Marcy, you recall Marcy several months ago.
Chamber of Commerce.
She's Chamber Economic Development. They also don't have access to these funds. They're one of the 6 counties as well. And they are very much like us. They have a state park. They have lots of forest. They do have a little bit. They have Spencer. And so they've got, like Boston Scientific is there. They've got some ability to do things, but they're also interested in opening up this new funding source. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, but that's how we got to where we are. Council 18 months ago asked me to look for new revenue. This is number 3 on my new revenue list that I'm putting before you for your consideration. Kevin is in the background, or back of the room here, Kevin Alt, chair of the CVC. The CVC has agreed to fund, and I think it's up to 15,000 or up to 16,000 of the initial cost to accomplish the first step of this process, which is for us to apply. We have to apply, we have to be accepted, and in order for us to join this region, become a region. And so in order to apply, we need funds to do that in order to put a plan together. And I'm probably, they're nodding, so I must not be too far off course. But and so that's why we're here. The CVC, and Kevin, I believe it was a unanimous vote to move forward with this application.
15,000 is what we said.
Okay, and we said, up to 15. They're kind of the last money in, because we've got private donations as well, matching this innkeeper's tax contribution. I believe it came from Duke Energy. Is that? Yes. Yeah, one of the private contributors. So Duke Energy, Fort Brown County kicked in $5,000, and then the innkeeper's tax is now kicking in the other 15. The council, I believe, needs to do a new appropriation for those funds,
Not that, that's with money within our budget.
It's money within your budget, but I think, Kevin, if the CVC wants just kind of a nod from the council.
We can do that. I'll be coming for you for the contract and pickleball anyway. So
Okay.
Scott.
Okay. Yeah.
Scott, okay, and you guys will probably speak to this.
Sure.
That's 20 grand.
Total.
Who's the 20 grand paid to, and what organization is that
Great
approved?
segue.
Who approves this?
Excellent
Who's-
segue, and I'm gonna,
Let them.
And so,
let's start with that.
so that money has been raised locally.
Okay, so we had 20
okay?
grand.
Private and public match.
Yeah.
Okay. And thankfully, the other great thing here is Julie Halbig from ROI,
Right.
okay?
I'm familiar.
Our already regional partner
Right.
that covers several counties.
11.
Of the 11. They have initially agreed to help us navigate the process with their staff and all the administrative burden that would be falling on Julie's office for this type of activity. And so with that, Julie Halbig from ROI is here to help us kind of understand. And I think from the administrative portion of this, Julie's the expert, and from the actual regional group, how it functions, what it does, what it doesn't do, Greg is the expert if you want to target your questions. But Julie, I'll pass it on to you to kind of kick us off.
Yeah, let me just answer. Good morning. Thank you for letting us join you this morning. So just to your most immediate question, so each county, Brown, Owen and Monroe, through private and public match, as Scott said, have each would contribute $20,000, total $60,000, and then when we apply to the USEDA under the Department of Commerce, we would then be granted, if our application is approved, a federal match of another $60,000, so $120,000 total, and then that would allow ROI, working with the 3 counties, to then do what is called a CEDS, which stands for a Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Plan. Quite the mouthful.
What federal department or agency?
U.S. Economic Development Administration.
And that falls under what?
Commerce.
Commerce Department.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And so we would take that $120,000 to hire a consultant, but again, ROI convening all 3 of county's representation. We have what is called, and we're required to do certain things, one of which is to have a committee, a steering committee, guide this whole planning process. And so we would go through that process, and that plan is really kind of our roadmap for the priorities that you all determine, and how you want to work together. And then one more application of submitting that plan, again, back to the U.S. Economic Development Administration, and they formally approve the plan. They may have a little bit of back and forth with this. And if they approve the plan, then you become what is known as a economic development district, and you have that designation by the feds. And then that is truly what opens up your funding opportunities to apply for certain funds that normally, if you don't have that designation as an economic development district, you're not eligible to even apply. I will tell you, and Greg can probably speak most of this, the attractiveness of this is a lot of the federal funding opportunities that can come. It could be upwards of 50 to 80% of the project cost coming from the feds. So that, to Scott's point, really reduces what you would have to come up with as the local church. And so it's just really a means for these bigger projects, especially as it relates to infrastructure, to stack your funding so that the burden isn't as much on you.
So let's go back, because I didn't get a chance to write it down, and I'm not very smart and I have a short memory. What department with federal government?
Commerce.
So it's the Department of Commerce.
And under that is what is called the U.S. Economic Development Administration.
Federal agencies.
Okay. And basically, let me feed this back to you
Yeah.
and tell me if I understand it correctly. Yeah, so you've got this, you got the 60K of the 3 counties, and then there's another 60K that comes in, and basically we're going to the U.S. Economic Development under the Department of Commerce, and we're basically negotiating agreement with the U.S. Department of Commerce, the U.S. Economic Development, which is an agency under the Department of Commerce. And once that agreement is in place, now all of a sudden you have access to federal funding that you otherwise would have never had access to.
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would maybe characterize not so much an agreement as you form that steering committee that's made up of representatives from all
Of the three
counties.
counties, right?
It's more of you deciding in that plan that you're gonna develop what your priorities are for the three of your counties. And it's basically your driven roadmap on what you are determining your priorities are and how you currently work together, how you foresee yourselves working together in the future. And that's what you submit to the federal government.
Yeah, because you're operating, what you're doing is negotiating between the three counties, kind of a vision statement, if you will.
Yeah.
Right, and a list of priorities, and you're going to the Department of Commerce and trying to come together I'm going to use the term of a my mind just went blank.
Like a gatekeeper or,
No, economy of scale.
okay.
Oh, to create, some capacity.
Yeah, because you kind of take
yeah.
a three count, small, well, Monroe's not, but you got Spencer and Brown, and you're going to collectively try to develop an economy of scale, because then I'm assuming then those three counties are working together, right, and kind of looking at it as a whole, or
But, so
Greg, could you
speaking of-
introduce
yeah.
it? It's a great
Yeah,
place for you to come
let me
in.
jump
Yeah.
in. So, Southern Indiana Development Commission, we're your regional planning commission to the southwest. So, Knox, Davies, Green, Martin, and Lawrence, right? So those are my 5 counties. We do regional projects where we look at things as a whole.
Right.
We also do individual projects for individual communities.
okay,
So it depends on the project. And that's really what we focus on. We use our comprehensive economic development strategy, which gives us our large regional strategies, but also gives individual strategies. So if we need a bathroom at Scott Rudd Park, we list that in our sets. If we need an overall housing initiative, then we list that in our sets. And so both are kind of put into that. And then really it falls on the Regional Planning Commission, the staff there, to one, stay trained in all the different federal funds that are available to communities, local communities. And then 2, to be able to reach out to all of the local communities and work through projects that they have in order to move them from just a concept into getting funded for a grant and then administering those funds on the back end, making sure the project stays to where all the budgets match up and all the paperwork is filed
Greg,
with
on
those
that
different
point,
agencies.
I'm sure you're appealing to Julie right now because, when we deal with federal funds, typically, if it's in-house in our office and the auditor, it's a heavy burden, right? And it's complicated and we probably need support.
can I?
Probably do that. with the
So
thing
definitely.
being
So anyway, it's
helpful.
And the other issue
Yeah.
too is that we as a small county lack the intellectual capital that a county like Bartholomew County probably has access to because of Bartholomew County, Columbus, right? And same thing with Bloomington and Monroe, because of the composition of the county, are going to have the skill sets required in order to be able to work the deal and put the deal together. Whereas we as a county, I don't know, but probably lack the intellectual capital and the experience in working.
I would say you're very similar to a lot of the communities I have in my
Right, yeah,
backyard.
yeah,
You know,
right.
Places as small as like Alfordsville, where we've got, or
Yeah.
town of Crane, where there's a couple of hundred people there. They still get our attention. We talk to them at least annually, if not more than that, and talking about what the projects they have going on. And then we try, those are typically a lot of our most used clients because they have the most needs and have the least ability to assist themselves. And so we spend more time, a lot of times, on our smaller communities than we do on our larger ones, just because they have a larger budget and can kind of handle some of those projects, maybe
Yeah,
have that
yeah,
capacity.
okay.
Greg,
Yeah.
real quick, Patrick, just to further put a point on that.
Mhm.
We've got one incorporated town, Nashville.
Yeah.
Then we have Helmsburg, Gnawbone, Bean Blossom that have no incorporated status, no staff, no government.
Just a census place, yeah.
Can you help Helmsburg?
Yeah, we've done projects that are like, would be the township was kind of the where it was at, like helping out some different fire departments and things like that. The township was the organization. And then we do some projects where it's like the county is the applicant.
Yeah,
And
right.
so, and then it helps everyone in the entire county. So like, one of the programs we saw as a need for our region that we've done for the last at least 24 years has been an owner occupied rehabilitation grant where we go out and get HPG funds, and then we go out and get Indiana Housing Community Development Authority funds or the Office of Community Rural Affairs funds. Either of those, we match them against each other. And then we have a program where we fix up, it's typically 18 different people's homes in a community. And, you know, typically these are folks that, you know, are living in their homes, but have run out of retirement money, have run out of whatever else, and can't keep their homes up. And so we come in, fix the wiring, fix the heating, fix the roof, and then that allows them to stay in the homes longer. So it's like, you know, being in the game as long as I've been here for 24 years,
Oh,
working
wow.
for SIDC, 18 as the director. But we've just learned different ways of going about getting funds for our communities, and really being a partner at the table as they're developing up projects that are going to steer your community in one way or the other for the positive.
Question. So moving aside from the benefits, what is the gain for the federal government? Because I've been associated with government agencies. It's like a quid pro quo. They don't give you something unless they get something, right? So do we lose control? What on the managerial aspect, how does that affect us in our county government? Putting aside all the good and wonderful things, what do we have to give?
That was my question. So
Sure.
to add to that. you know,
Property
what does
rights.
this do, autonomy, you know, federal government grants and money generally come with strings attached.
Absolutely. There's a grant agreement, and that lays out what those strings typically are. And so with the Economic Development Administration, one of their most popular programs is the Public Works Program. And so it helps out with your infrastructure for job creation. So you have to have a project that's tied to job creation. So like typically you're expanding an industrial park, or you've got an area where you can't grow as a community anymore because your water capacity is constrained. Then you can go out to the Economic Development Administration, make an economic argument to them that by doing this, it will help increase the number of jobs in your area, as well as the economic value of your organization. So the Economic Development Administration, what they're wanting out of this is to see U.S. jobs grow. And so that's the quid pro quo. Is
But
they
there
want to see
again,
jobs
you're not
grow.
really answering my question. Without all of the fluff that you're giving me here, what is the direct control over them, and what do we directly have to are accountable to them for? Because the government does nothing, and I'm not saying that I'm against this. They don't just give you something for nothing. The federal government expects something. What is that? Direct and to the point. What are they expecting from us?
I think they want two things. One, you know, there's always the compliance, right?
Right,
The reporting.
right.
And so that's the capacity issue, is where, you know, ROI would kind of act as the helpful administrator to the 3 counties to build that capacity, much like Greg functions now for his 5 counties. So it's always the compliance, the reporting that you have to do. But secondly, you know, you don't get the money unless you put in some skin of your own, which is some sort of match. The difference is, I think, compared to some grants, theirs are more attractive because many times you can get them to contribute 50 to 80%. So again, your local match isn't as much as maybe a state grant where you have to go 50-50 or whatever, right? I mean, it just depends.
Let me take you through an example.
Yeah.
Really easy.
Beyond that, though, I think the point is, does this subject us to federal regulation, prevailing wage requirements, issues like that?
So prevailing wage, will be a part of the project. You're gonna have to pay prevailing wage, you're gonna have to do the environmental review, which is called a NEPA, National Environmental Protection Agency report, that will come along. But there's consultants that assist in those types of projects. My organization, we will do the NEPA if it needs to be done for a project in our region. In the grant agreement, you're gonna have Buy America, Build America attached in there. So you're gonna have to try and buy American steel, American products whenever you get awarded for those funds. Now your planning funds don't have any of that attached to it. That's only on a specific construction project that you have with EDA. So you're gonna have prevailing wage. You're going to have a useful life clause in there, which basically says we're going to operate this in the way we told you we were gonna operate it for 20 years. And so, can you convert a water tower into something different? Like, I don't know, maybe here you could put it into moonshine or something like that, but you really can't convert infrastructure into any other purposes. So that clause was really never something that was
Greg,
really gonna be.
maybe
a
take a
problem.
specific example, and
It's like China and tap. I mean,
Yeah.
like a project in Helmsburg. There's a lot of interest in Helmsburg and Gnawbone,
Right.
Yeah.
and they don't really have much of anything. Like
Yeah.
they've got water
US
issues,
development.
sewer issues,
Yeah.
street issues, stormwater issues, housing issues.
We fixed
So-
the stormwater issue.
We did, yeah, hopefully, mostly. But so let's say you do a project in Helmsburg. I've heard some of the other concerns about, gosh, is the federal government going to control all of a sudden our zoning or our, are there DEI requirements? Is there a prohibition of, well, I don't know,
Yeah.
but those are the kind of things I think there's some
Yeah,
concerns
and I
about.
just want to add this, because I think I just brought up the website, because it's U.S. Economic Development Administration right here, it's the actual site. So, clearly, I'm going to have to do my due diligence on this agency. But I would assume that, as you go forward over the next 25 years, how this agency is managed is totally interdependent upon the current administration.
Right.
So depending on whatever the administration's in, then that's going to be directly affect what goes on within this agency. So that's something we don't.
Typically a bipartisan agency.
Yeah,
For
right.
the most.
Four years or whatever. I mean, what's your experience?
My
been?
experience is
Yeah.
that we've had 24 years working with it. Well, my agency goes back over 55 years. And EDA has been one of those agencies that is trying to do economic development, right? I mean, it's in their title. And so so like right now, we've got a project with the Westgate of Crane where we're redoing new wells for a rural water system, new wells, new lines in order to help for industrial growth out at the Westgate of Crane Technology Park. That's an EDA project. Now, for your smaller communities, they probably don't have a job creation element attached to a water or sewer or stormwater project, right? But they do probably have some sort of economic hardship, whether per capita, low per capita income, or low unemployment rate, or a high unemployment rate, sorry. And so that would make you eligible for going after grants from the Office of Community and Rural Affairs. So those are actually federal funds that come from the Housing and Urban Development, and then get passed to the state of Indiana, and then the state of Indiana through the Office of Community and Rural Affairs doles out that money to non-entitlement communities. So non-entitlement.
We're non-entitlement.
You're non-entitlement. Bloomington is an entitlement community. You're non-entitled. And so doles those monies out where you have to kind of compete for those different projects. But if you can put together a good enough project and have experienced grant writers, to put the project together, then you are, more likely to get funded.
You forgot more than I ever know about
Sure.
this subject, but I want to make a claim, and then I want you to tell me whether or not my claim is completely out of line,
Oh, this will be fun.
or
Make two.
all right, I'll make, okay.
He will.
Yeah,
We all know that we've got $38 trillion in national debt.
sure.
The only way we as a nation can dig ourselves out of the hole is we have to grow the GDP. If we do not grow the GDP, we run the risk as a nation of this thing collapsing in on itself. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. That also holds true for the states, the individual states. So when we get into the subject of economic development, really the driving factor on economic development are the government structures, because they have to be able to increase revenue. Now, politically, through the media, we language it as, well, we want to add jobs. While that's important for, all the peasants, we peasants want to have jobs so we can eat and own a house and, live the American dream. But in the grand big picture, you have to, for example, I read that when I took office in January of 23, that as an elected official, one of the primary responsibilities is economic development that you're supposed to try to support. And so what we're doing, and it's like with Indiana, we've got, 6.8 million people, right? And I do know we have 31 counties with less than, they account for about 7.5% of the state's population, which is a little bit over 500,000 people. And the challenge with those counties is that you look at the cost of county government, you look at the cost of the school corporations, and if you use 100 million, you're talking $3.1 billion to try to cash flow local government and schools that these counties are not producing the GDP. So this issue is what we're saying is that we're coming together with Owen, Monroe, Brown County, because then that opens up intellectual capital that we currently do not have access to. And then what that does is that opens up the door potentially to be able to apply through grants through this United States Department of Economics. Is that
Do you agree
perception?
with everything he just
Yeah, you agree with what I just said?
I want to, is there a tattoo parlor near where we can get that put on me?
Yeah.
So I will say, I'm not going to challenge you on that.
Well, you can. You're more than welcome
Right.
to. Yeah.
What I would say is if you could broaden your understanding of what economic development is, because it's not wholly about the GDP. The debt is, yeah, but it's not, our communities are not fully, our economic development initiatives are not about growing the GDP.
Okay.
A lot of times it's about making sure that people, when they turn their water on, it turns on.
So
When they flush the
infrastructure.
toilet, it flushes. We're bring it back to a little bit more basic. Try and create the amenities that make people want to live in your county. And I know that you've got a lot of amenities, especially here in Nashville, but it also then drives out people from living here because people start buying up the houses for
Tourist rentals.
tourist rentals, right? So there's a lot of things that you can support in economic development. Could be childcare. I mean, that's been one of the biggest initiatives that I've been working on lately is trying to help the region out, just understand childcare and what do we need to do on a statewide level to fix childcare initiatives so that the communities can do something about it. Because right now it's affordable childcare is you're unsure of who you're leaving your kids with a lot of times. So where there's no structure to it. Housing has been the latest challenge. And how do we get more developers that want to come into our region? So we've done initiatives, worked with ROI on that, of how do we bring developers to grow from a 2-home development a year to a 10-unit development a year? How do we start making incremental development that way? How do we look at our zoning for some of our communities? Because the zoning actually is restrictive from allowing, accessory dwelling units or even to rebuild the same home that was there that got demolished, on that same piece of property. So it's looking at all of the things that make up economic development, make up a community, that is economic development for us. EDA, their metric is jobs. That's what it comes down to. Whenever I have to make a justification in a grant, I've got to figure out a way of making a jobs argument.
Okay.
That's just who it is.
Yeah, but if you don't have the foundation covered,
That's right.
you're never going to be able to add anymore.
Right.
Period. I mean, it's,
I
yeah.
will stress too to your,
Because that, you just helped me shift a little bit there.
Yeah.
Because you're right, that if you don't have it's like basketball. If you don't know how to dribble and pass, you can't play basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know how to take the ball in.
Right. So, yeah.
I've been to some of those games.
Yeah.
to, just to a couple of your concerns that several of you raised. You know, so let's say we get the designation from US EDA for your 3 counties. Just because you have the designation, you can be as active in applying for things as you want, or you can sit on the sidelines. I want you to feel comfortable in the fact that you still choose as a county or a community on whether or not you pursue grant funds. You can do it in partnership with Brown and Monroe, or if it's something, again, based on the plan that you all work together and that you labeled as a priority, but you can do it yourself as a county, or if Helmsburg wants to pursue something separately as a township or.
So Brown County doesn't have to worry about giving up its autonomy.
No.
No,
Let me put a question
At this-
on that
at this
point. Let me ask. So let's say Gnawbone wants to do something impactful to that community.
Mhm.
And they get into it, and their sponsor, if it's the county or the township or the fire department, whoever, they get into it and they read the grant agreement and they're like, we don't like that, we don't like that, we don't like that. What are their options at that point?
You don't take the money.
you don't take the money and don't sign it.
Okay, I'll give an example.
So it's down to even less than the county decides. It's the applicant can choose.
I mean, most of the requirements are construction requirements. They're not how you live your life afterwards. I will say there is one grant that's a clearance grant that will kind of make you hold your property for 5 years without really doing anything on it. But you've cleared a brownfield, and so you're at least minimally better for having that brownfield cleared, and that property will sit there for 5 years until you're out of the grant agreement. But for the most part, everything's construction related on that grant agreement. What I was telling you, the prevailing wage, and you got to have an environmental review, and you've got to do all of these different provisions. That's just cover your butt stuff that the federal government wants to do to make sure that people don't think there's waste, abuse, or fraud going on in their organization.
Give you an example of that. Okay, about 15 years ago in Helmsburg, the volunteer fire department wanted to build a new fire department. So they spec'd it out and they went out looking for grants. They ended up getting, I believe it was a federal grant. They had to drop the size of it to 2/3 the size of what they wanted because of constraints on union labor, blah, 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 all the other things, hoops they had to jump through. Turned out whoever got the contract, I think they ended up subcontracting to Amish people who subcontracted to Mexican people, whatever. But the fact was, is the constraints were put on it, they had to drop the size of the fire department. Now, the concerns they're having here is, let's say you say childcare, somebody comes in and says you want to have regulated childcare. Well, let's say you got some nice people out there doing childcare, all of a sudden, will that influence that they have to get shut down? You talk about zoning or things of that nature, where they may have to get shut down because they don't have, you have one entity that is now getting a grant and it's doing something. Will that influence them? Or let's say, kid can't have a lemonade stand anymore, those kind of constraints. Those are the things that we're concerned with, because this is a freewheeling community.
Yeah, I would say I would not have those concerns. Now, I understand your argument on the child care, because that does raise concerns where you're sitting there going like, well, wait a minute, if we help subsidize the child care, like, aren't we taking money out of all the other child care organizations that have been in our community and that kind of stuff? I live in Daviess County, so I know those numbers a little bit better than other counties, but they currently only have 49% of child care covered in their county. So there's still 51% of the children that are figuring it out, whether it's a parent or a grandparent or a neighbor or that is part of a daycare. And really, there's only one entity that meets the standard of the path to quality in the state of Indiana. So there's 4 paths to quality with childcare. And there's only one entity that meets that, and that's the Head Start agency. You have to be in poverty to be able to have access to that. So really, there are, if you do set up a childcare, all it's going to do is raise the standards. And if you set it up in such a way that you're trying to help the other agencies in your community, so like if it had a training center for people to come and get training to move from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 of those paths to quality, then you're starting to raise the level of education for all your kids before they get to the schools corporations. So there's, nothing's black or white. We've got to figure out ways of being able to make it work so that it meets with the core values of your community. And your core values aren't handouts, right? Your core values is how do we make this work for all of our citizens? So, yeah.
What's the annual administrative cost? Do we know?
So my organization, we have a very low cost.
Because let me, before you go to try to answer that, you got ROI. I'm all too familiar with who ROI is, right? And then you got your organization out of Lagodi, right? And then you set up this EDA. So the EDA is a separate contract, I'm assuming, between Monroe, Owen, and Brown.
Yeah.
And then those 3 counties have a separate contract. That contract then bolts up with ROI and then your organization, correct?
Well, I don't know where I fit in.
I'm trying to understand the organizational chart.
So you get the sets, let's take it by steps. You get the sets complete and you form an economic development district.
Which is a separate corporate, non-for-profit corporation.
Not for profit, or you can set up under the Indiana code. That way it makes it a government entity.
Ooh, okay.
Well, see, I'm a government entity.
Oh, you
with no-
are?
With no government funding. It's the best of both worlds, right? So,
Okay.
So, the way I'm funded is I get membership dues from my counties. And then I take that and I use it to go after a partnership planning grant with the Economic Development Administration.
Okay.
And so
And we can talk about this later. I
Right.
just, off the top of mind, what's the annual cost? Just 20 grand, 30 grand? What would you guess?
per county.
Yeah.
I'd hate to answer that because you're trying to stand up a brand new organization.
Okay, so we can address that down the road.
We can address that
Okay,
down the road.
all right.
But you're standing
But
up
there
a brand
will-
new organization, so you're probably gonna have to. Have
This
higher
entity
standards.
we create, we're all gonna have to pool in money for the operating cost of this entity, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
that's good. We can
To
stop.
get the services that you want
Yeah,
out
yeah,
of
yeah,
this. Yeah.
Okay.
But my organization, we have a $4 million budget, right?
Right,
We're a government,
right,
$4 million
right.
budget, no government funding.
Right,
We get ours from doing projects.
right.
And so it's the dollars off of so there's the EDA project in Greene County, that's a $6 million project. We get some administrative dollars off of that
Yeah.
project.
So let me do this it's a quarter to 10, just to save time here. Scott.
Yeah.
One of the steps that I think the early on is we as a community with the CVC and would have to have a conversation and sit down and have a conversation of how we want to structure it at the county level. And then how that relationship with this new organization we're going to establish, how that works. And we're going to want to hammer out that internal structure because right out of the gate, we want to address, how do we, it's not, it's the Tin Staffel theory. There's no such thing as a free lunch in life. So there's going to be some cost to this. So we're going to want to know internally here as a county, how do we cash flow those year-to-year operational costs? And then how does this organization within the county then work in conjunction with this new EDA organization? And what's that organizational structure look like? And so we've got to work on that internally.
And I think that can be a key part of when you're doing that comprehensive economic development strategy
Right,
plan, the SEDS.
Right.
Because the consultant can take us through different models
Yeah, okay,
of how it
okay.
might work best.
But that would be kind of the next step, would it not?
Well,
Sense.
actually,
Kinda.
I think, what ROI, who I work for, and myself, I don't think you need the answer right now because I think it's going to be part of.
Really,
that
I got it all
planning
figured
process. Well, good.
Sorry, I'm just joking.
No.
Yeah.
But that way so basically, we're at the point where, you as the council are comfortable with you're part of the local match. We turn in our just initial application to draw down those funds to allow us to do that plan, all three of you together, in which all three of you will have representation. I think that's a crucial part of that plan is what do you want that to look like? What are you guys comfortable with?
Right,
As a
right.
council.
Yeah, and before we cut a check, I think to me personally, I'd want to, at least, you don't have to have a permanent decision made, but you'd want to have a collective, pretty good idea of how this is going to work, the framework for it,
Yeah.
before you go cutting that check.
Yeah, and you
So
can,
it's-
and you can even, you can even go through that planning process.
Right, okay.
Turn it in.
Yeah,
Wait to get your answer that if you're gonna be declared an official economic development designation.
okay.
And then from there, you can,
I got
further
it.
decide how you want it to work. So there's multiple points where you can, find those answers, have someone show you different models that may work best, that you're most comfortable with, and then decide. But I think what I want to emphasize for all of you, because I get that there's a comfortableness level, right? That is, you're the stewards of the taxpayer dollars, and, you retain, I guess, for lack of a better word, the ability to be in the driver's seat and decide, what you want to apply for, what you don't want to
Right,
apply
right,
for.
right.
You set the priorities as part of that planning process, what that model would look like for that future organization. So, I want to, give you comfort in that. And I think I'm not speaking out of turn when I
Well,
say
could
that,
I
right?
clarify something? I
Yeah.
think, the Community Economic Development Strategy, which is what the CVC and our private funder has accumulated funds to proceed with. That will, it sounds like, if I'm hearing this right, that will help us determine what this regional organization looks like, how it's built, what it focuses on, who the partners are, et cetera. But then also, it develops the strategy for our focus, and we talked about some of the areas where, the region as a whole, public safety, housing, infrastructure, workforce, et cetera, would probably align across the three counties. But I guess my question, and Greg, you mentioned this, you've got a budget for that organization, obviously.
Yeah.
And in our case, with these three counties, I could see Monroe County having way more activity than Owen and Brown. And if that activity generates administrative revenue for the district, does that help offset Brown County's contribution?
It does in my area.
It does in your,
Right,
okay.
right.
Okay.
So my county contributions outside of projects is probably about 5% of my budget. And when I go and I speak to my counties at the end of the year and tell them about all the great things I've done, I do a financial analysis for the X number of dollars you've given me. This is how much have been returned to your county. Typically, it's $200 for every dollar that they put into my organization. So it's a great return on investment. They're always, excited about that. Now, I will say, you're starting a new organization. New organizations take more money to get started than existing organizations. So it's just, but ultimately, what you need to do is find an organization that you trust, because you won't use them if you don't trust them, and they won't be able to coordinate communication amongst different elected officials or communities and counties if all of those communities and counties don't trust them. That's
Part of our concern was being that Bloomington is so much larger, we get dominated, because we're just small. Is that going to be the structure of the organization that's going to determine that? You alluded to the fact that they look for smaller projects to do.
So more than likely, your larger project, your like larger EDA projects may come out of Bloomington, but your smaller Okra projects will probably come out of your rural areas. And so just different grant funds, different federal projects.
We've
but-
talked about this, Gary, and,
Mhm.
and Julie, you
Yeah.
can kind of clarify, but Marcy from Owen County and myself from Brown have been talking with the Monroe County Economic Development person as a group. And one thing that Owen and Brown get out of this is a majority in terms of the smaller rural county focus. And the majority has 2 counties, but as 3 counties, each county is going to absolutely be equally represented with the number of people on the board equally per county. But then you look at Monroe and Marcy and I, and right with the Monroe County person, like she gets it, she's hearing us say, like, look, Owen and Brown, we don't want to be dominated by Monroe. We don't want to have to, follow that, path. We don't want to be, but then,
Well,
then we
that's
looked
where-
at Owen, we're like, hey, wait,
this
we're
is-
actually the majority.
This
of
is where it
group,
gets
not
into
the
the
minority.
legalese within the operating agreement
Right.
that has to be established, that currently does not exist.
Mhm.
And so that needs to be negotiated out as you go forward with it. So it's just part of the process.
So I would ask you to look up Indiana Code IC 36-7-7-1.
Okay, wait a minute. What is it? I see.
36
Hang on a minute. I see.
36
Yep,
-7
yep,
-7
yep.
-1.
Dash one.
So
Okay.
that sets up regional planning commissions and how they test
function.
out.
Okay.
So, and it even, gives some revenue, how to revenue stream it. So like ours, when we originally started 55 years ago, it was like 25 cents per person for the county. So like places like Martin County, that would be like $5,000, so it's like not a huge amount. So we've had to change those numbers over time. But, that will tell you how to set up a board if you want to be an actual governmental entity, regional planning commission, 7 members per board for each county, right? So for a 3-county area, that's 21. For mine, I have 35 that are elected officials and 1 governor appointment. And so it's, and they all have equal representation on my board. No single community dominates anything. It really comes down to those communities that are hungrier for projects get more attention.
Sure.
Okay, one question, you mentioned Okra grants and things of that nature. We're finding it difficult to get Okra grants because we've got a poor LMI. Strangely enough, this county is somewhat poor, but got a big chunk up in the northeast section that's got a lot of money. So would this affect that at all? Will the federal grants, gonna look at LMI, those issues?
So LMI is what it is, but
That's low to
But
medium
if you have,
income
if you
ratio.
have a astute administrator working for you for your projects, then they can try and design a project that meets a constituency that has a low LMI, and then you can go out and find for that constituency.
That's my concern, is can we lower it, the sub-county, set up local?
You can get it down to the block group if you need to.
Okay.
So,
So can I call you?
yeah,
Okay,
This
boy, that was
sounds
a
like
mistake.
I got a question.
yeah.
Are you born and raised in Davies County?
No, I was born and raised in Greene County in Linton.
Okay. My family DNA is buried in
We gotta
Davies
move on,
County.
so keep it going.
Okay, all right.
One more,
Hey, anyone, we're gonna close it, go one more question?
we're establishing an economic development,
District,
district.
yes.
That's what we're working
Region.
towards.
Is that classified as a federal economic development district under this agreement?
I am, but I will say they don't put any real provisions on me other than what is in my grant.
But that's always subject to future administrations, future, I mean, well, I guess, that's my question, is
I don't feel it on a day, I don't
designating-
feel it at all on a daily basis,
Right.
any of those provisions that would be coming down.
But we're always subject to it.
And I'm always subject to remove
You know, I'm
them.
not
as a
arguing
partner.
against the point, I'm just, I want
Right.
to clarify that we would be a federal economic development district.
Yeah, they would
Yes.
designate you, but the specifics are always in the grant agreement that you can decide
Well,
if
just
you want to
as a
sign.
district, as a federal district, then that would subject us to, say a future administration wants to tighten its grip, mandate other certain provisions
I
and
mean,
laws.
I guess that's always
it-
a
it-
possibility,
it's subject to-
but you can always just then say, we do not want to be recognized as a district anymore, and go through that unwinding process.
Yeah, and
I'm not arguing it, I just,
Yeah,
I
no, I
want to know, I
I'm
want to
just
know
trying
all
to-
the facts.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to answer,
And I would say like right now we're EDA is shut down, right? And so we've been asked to change some of our language at times from resiliency, using the word resiliency, to readiness. Like in some of the changes that don't always sit well, but they're not big enough that it's a major issue. I mean, we're still doing the same thing. It's about terminology a lot of times. That's been the most I've seen ever of any of the federal organizations telling us to do something one way or the other. And I would say, like Julie says, you can unwind it if you need to. Really what you're trying to do is set up an organization that gives you access to more federal funds and more state funds as well, and more local funds as well. Like, how do you coordinate all of those things together for a good project? And you want access to all of those different funds. You don't want to have one set left out, because it could be very much the gap filler that allows you to do a major project. So, yeah.
I appreciate your time, and your drive all the way up and
Yeah.
over.
Of course.
And, I know Julie, you specifically put a lot of time into just getting us to this point where we either move forward or we don't. And I know the CVC has already approved that funding. It sounds like they do not need an additional appropriation from the council. And so Julie, Kevin Alt in the back
Yes.
is who will work with Julie, our auditor, to provide that funding for you, just to simply apply. This is just to apply to see if we are accepted, and if we are accepted,
We'll
we
go through
decide
that
then.
planning process
If we're
together.
rejected, we don't. And those details can flow out. Strangely, Bartholomew and Jackson are two of the other, I think of like 6 counties that are not in a region either.
Bartholomew County doesn't need to be.
And we talked to them early on and said, hey, Bartholomew, Jackson, would you like to join
Yeah,
with
but-
Brown and Owen? And they said, nah, and if you think of regionally, they're kind of in their own world there, kind of with manufacturing, and it's just
Bartholomew is their own region.
it's just their very own
Well,
thing.
first of
And
all,
so
Bartholomew-
they said, no, not right.
Bartholomew County ranks number 6 in GDP per capita in the state of Indiana, and they've had a long-standing economic development program. It's $2,500. This was 1990 money. I don't know what it is today, but they've been, and they've done a fabulous job. So the only thing I'm going to interject here is I would like to have some preliminary conversations with the CVC before we go cut any checks. Because let me ask you this, just, we submit the application to this, US EDA. What's the probability that we get rejected? I mean, I wouldn't think we'd be pursuing this if there was a high probability that we're not going to get approved.
Well, most of the time, you submit something to, this is nice about EDA. You submit something to EDA is going to look at it and say, this line here, can
Okay.
you switch that to that?
But there's a
So,
95,
but-
let's say, is there a 95% probability that it will be accepted?
EDA wants to have every county in
Okay.
the government, in all of the US.
Right.
Covered under regional planning.
And that makes sense.
Because
86
we're
out of
their-
92.
we are their eyes and ears
Right,
for federal projects.
feeding information
That's
back.
right, we're feeding them
Right,
information.
so they understand the needs within
That's
the
right.
the whole country as a whole.
Right.
Right, okay, so the only thing I would like us to do, just a little bit of due diligence, Kevin, if you're open to this, is to have, because I would like to be involved in this conversation, all right? I would like to have some conversations, about it before we go cutting the checks.
Kevin,
Just to get-
I know there's been a lot of conversation already.
Yeah, I understand.
Just yesterday, we had even more conversation about a local economic development corporation, which is another really great.
And I understand
But
those.
Kevin, can you get with Jim and in the next week, you guys talk it through, and Jim, if you got questions or concerns.
Yeah,
just get it
I
back
would like to
council.
have
Yeah,
Kevin and I to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's some other, okay,
sounds good. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're
again.
welcome. No, thank you.
One
All
final
great
thing to
questions.
think about is if we can get full statewide coverage, right?
Right.
From all regions in the state of Indiana, then that would make a better mechanism, a lot of times, for the state to dole out money to regions rather than them hold it and then
Right.
do smaller
Right.
projects.
'Cause
That's
you get
always
your-
been the goal
Yeah.
of regional planning commissions is to try and get the state fully covered.
Yeah, because you're trying to work together collectively,
That's
correct? Right.
We need the state as a partner.
Right.
Well, and more importantly, I think what you're trying to say
Yeah.
is we are the ones that always lose because of this. If
Right,
we are not
right,
in a
right.
region, we aren't what they call, and it's like Bloomington's this entitlement community.
Right.
They don't have to compete for
That's
checks. They just open the
Right,
mail
right,
and a check
right,
is in
right,
there.
right.
And then they decide what
Right,
to
and
do.
the
with it.
inheritance,
We have to compete.
to me, my big takeaway today is it comes down to intellectual capital. You know, and this is an opportunity to where we could, if we manage it correctly, manage the relationship and build the trust, right? That we can leverage intellectual capital that we currently don't have access to today.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
said the
Look forward
goal,
to
you
a
said the
call.
goal of EDA is to get the entire state. Now, as we said, Columbus has no interest in it because Columbus is pretty much.
Well, they didn't say no interest. They just said they don't want to be a part of
Sold
our
that.
3-county region.
I'm not
Well,
sold.
they
they're
didn't say
their
no.
own-
That's fine.
they're their own-
Well, they're not a.
Neither
they're
am
not
I,
in
but it's
the-
worth, it's a conversation
Yeah.
we're pursuing.
They're the
Right.
whole-
I'm not gonna terminate
in
it.
the state,
And what's
then the
this,
entire
and I'm
state
glad you're
is
talking to him, what's the
EDA.
CVC's,
Does that affect-
what's in it
I
for
mean,
what you
them,
were talking about?
Well,
Yeah, it does.
building
You know,
things
we're
for
closer
them?
today than we've ever been.
They're having
You know,
conversations
before we
about
were, like,
setting
76
up
counties covered in regional planning, and you guys
private
finally got a region
economic
around their
development
area.
corporation.
You know,
Okay.
and so we keep,
Okay.
we keep growing.
There's always
The
something,
momentum
something's
right.
is that
And
we
if
keep
you-
growing
if they're gonna move in that
towards
direction,
coverage for the state.
Then
And
we need to
makes
gain clarity
gives
on
an
what's that
opportunity
look
for the
like,
state
how
to
it's
really
structured, how's it
push
set up, blah, blah, blah,
to
blah.
There's a
forward
motive
whenever
there.
they have
Well,
initiatives
yeah, it's not, I don't think
to
there's
allow
ill
to help
intent.
Quality of life or help
Okay.
development or whatever their initiative might be. So,
It flows, the money
Yeah.
can flow easier to those regions, including us, which we're the ones always the hole in the donut, you
Yeah.
know, like.
I think about transportation dollars that way, is like where that might be the first mechanism is to go after and help with some, whether it's just helping with community crossings, grants, applications, that kind of stuff, or those types of things, but,
we need 100 million to start.
okay?
All right.
Let's start there.
That'll get us
Start working our way
started.
up.
With a
Yeah.
goal of maybe 300 million over the next 10 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. We got other stuff to go to.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Look forward to your call.
All right. I'll shoot you an email.
Careful what you ask for, Greg.
Okay, Melissa, can you go
Yeah.
quick? How long you gonna take?
I'll make it quick.
How long?
15 minutes?
Oh, boy.
3?
No.
I don't care. I got
Kevin,
my-
yours is gonna talk, take a little longer. Go ahead.
I've already got it drawn up in a piece of paper, so we can just go over it really quickly. And what this is these are funds. After Reed Financial went through our accounts, we had a lot of things that are years old and things that they would like merge together, made into zero balances, closeout funds, and this is a request for that. So Julie and I went through line by line and fund by fund, and I went through the state to find out what could be commingled, what could not be commingled. And this is a result of it, and I thought I would just come to a work session for any questions, and then I'll come to your next meeting with the final numbers and lines, and the official paperwork after it's been advertised.
Okay. Right out of the gate, okay. There's only two funds in the health department budget, 1159, 1160.
No, there's not.
Huh?
Multiple.
There's multiple funds.
Because we have
So these are
several
actual funds, not line items?
funds, not line items.
All right.
Throughout the years.
Throughout the
All right. Throughout the years.
Yeah.
years,
Ooh, okay.
like,
We're working off the sheet that Rita gave us.
Yeah, I know. I got a copy of it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
so the first one is the health support clinic funds. That fund number is 414. It's a sister fund to 416. What it appears to be, and what I saw and read through it, it says that it is refunds, reimbursement funds that were billed out and then came in and were sent in this fund for $8,109.59. I would like to transfer those funds to 4016 Health Support Clinic that we reacted with you as council, and that's the one that we have
That was
used to
the one you
make
used for the
Yeah.
roof and the.
for the roof and that we're
HVAC.
using for the, also to support the clinic. So I just want to move that money over to the other money, the other name of the fund is the
Okay.
same thing, and close out 4014.
Okay.
Okay. And then 802 and 803 are both city readiness. And we have a city readiness now that we use, which is 9118. So whenever Auditor Mulry came in, she saw that all those old accounts were in there. So she established 9118 for the even years and 9119 for the odd years. And so what it was supposed to be was that they would feed in to the negative balances, because these are reimbursement grants. We would pull down the money from the state. That grant fund would go in dormant as the money was coming in to pay for the year prior. And then we would use the active year of the year that was in there to start pulling down again. But what had happened was there were a lot of other little funds that people had started and didn't finish and started and didn't finish. So I would like to combine those fund monies, $62 and $3,113.46 to fund 9118 and zero those other two out. And then we have 8106 Public Health Coordinator, federal grant for $286, and now that fund number is 9119. And then the fund balance, I would like to be transferred to 9119 and then close out. And then 1159, department appropriation. And so this would come out of the 1159 because somehow, it was long before Julia and mine and anybody else's probably sitting here, it was an immunization fund. And I kind of think, Judy, by looking at it, what it was is when they switched to the VaxCare, somewhere along the line, whenever Judy took over, it didn't ever get, I don't know, it just has a negative balance of $2,326.41. I'd like to appropriate the money out of 1159, pay that off, and zero out that account.
Okay.
And then the last one is,
So 8236 has a negative balance of what
Yes.
you want to transfer.
yep, that I went, it's not a line, it's
Shore it
just
up
the
and
whole
then zero
account,
it
the
out.
whole fund is, so we can just zero it out and get done with it.
Short up.
All right, so
Zero it out.
now, 1159 appropriation of $53,599.62 to fund 9114 health-based grant fund. So this, again, was one of the funds that they didn't use anymore. So what happened was, they started using 1159 for the full appropriation of funds for the actual public health coordinator position. And instead of having $25,000 out of 1159 and $25,000 out of 9118, where it was supposed to be, they put it all in and on the tax roll. So what it was supposed to be was then, it was supposed to be transferred over and made whole. But you cannot commingle federal funds with that money. You can't take federal funds and put it in tax money. Now, you can take tax money and share up that negative balance and zero it out, but you cannot take the money to reimburse it. So I don't think that this will be the full amount, which you can read it down here in this paragraph, because once I get done doing all the editing, because the state of Indiana are sending me all of the deposits for the last 10 years and when they came in. So, and I have to trace them to the accounts. I think that it will be at least maybe $10,000 less. So what I would need to do is zero out this 9114, because I also talked to Doug, because they're still pulling that payroll out of that line, or out of that fund. And so Doug said for this year, we just need to do a correction of funds and get it out of the right fund. And then take that 9114 and zero it out and get rid of it so it can't be used anymore. So that's where I am on that one. And then down here at the bottom, I'm going to ask at your next meeting, the fund, 1160, which is the HFI money. We had you guys carry over from last year to this year a total amount. But what I would like to do is take $45,161.62 of that from 24 to 26 to next year, because I want to be able to pay for my environmental specialists that we have hired, and all of the payroll benefits taxes for that position out of that 2024 money, which has already been okayed by the state. I also sent it to you when I sent in all my budgets that I was going to do that, because you don't see that position in the 1160 or in the 1159. So I wanted to let you guys know that that position was still going to be there for your salary ordinance. So I want to carry those funds over. So that'll have to be advertised and then voted on in the next meeting. And then my last is just a little question. I did hear that $11,000 was going to be taken and borrowed out from our funds to shore up the budget for next year. I just need someone to give me instructions on how I make that request happen and request the funds back for next year, because it's what you guys say I need to do, so.
Well, I don't know that it was 11,000. I know from what Jackie had said that the health fund was going to be short. It was not going to affect you until April.
Okay,
And it may not affect you at all,
okay,
okay, because your budget, their first quarter will be covered, okay?
okay,
What happens is when you get your property tax, not you, when the county gets their property tax settlement in June, that's when it affects the money that comes in to you. So you would be just living off of your fees, because all of your money, all of your money that comes in
Right.
through fees
Yes.
would be supporting you, and there may not be enough money to support your funds from April, May, June. So we may have to do what's called an interlocal loan from
Okay.
the general fund to get you through April, May, June. And then when that tax money settlements and all those come in after they're all paid in May and the settlement's done in June, then pay that back.
okay,
Okay,
so
so
will that
you would-
all happen in her world
It would, but I'd keep it,
without, okay, just.
but keep an eye on it, make sure, that if your balances are getting low, just keep an eye on it. But it should all happen there, and then we'll have to, make sure that we're doing what we need to do too. But you shouldn't have to really do anything, you shouldn't have to request it, it should happen auditor up,
Okay, all right,
okay? But if you see it's getting low, you can
Yeah.
always come to us, ring our chimes,
Or she just said it's more of a cash flow issue.
yeah.
yeah,
You may get tight on cash until June, and if you run short, let us know.
Yeah, we'll have to do an interlocal loan.
We'll see that on our,
on my reports. All right.
Yeah,
Do you need
okay?
anything else from us?
That's it.
That was great.
Yeah,
All right.
thank
Alright.
you.
Thank you.
Just read over it. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. I will advertise this. I will get with Susan and,
I don't have any questions, I was there.
okay. All right,
Thank
good.
you.
And then I'll present it at your next meeting.
Sounds good.
One quick question that could be answered a lot faster than typing out an email.
Okay,
The second to last paragraph, fund balance 1160, 45, 160, 162. Is that to cover a shortfall, is that a
No.
recurring shortfall?
it is,
Or you're
it's
just
gonna,
using
okay,
the
so
actual
we
account?
went from $353,000 in HFI to 90. Okay, so I had to try to figure out how to pay payroll. So knowing that this had happened, State of Indiana's been putting us through different trainings and how to fund these funds, things that we have. And so one of their suggestions were, if you had money from 24, you should try to see if you can get council's approval to take that 24 and carry it over to 26 to pay for that payroll, which was in a capital fund money. And they said it was fine, it can come out of there and just go over into that. So that's,
It's a bookkeeping cleanup.
That's it. Yep, and so it's just gonna come out of 24. It's a non-reverting fund, so I was a little bit confused on why do we have to keep going back to council, because it's just gonna move over anyway, and they said because it's where it is in the lines, and you gotta move it back to the lines. So, it has to be in a payroll line.
So there's no shortfall?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about we take the monopole issue and solve that in 5 minutes?
Mark, would you like to come up? Yeah.
We want to get you back to the parks.
How much time do you think you need? Seconds? Okay, perfect.
45 seconds.
Seconds.
2 minutes. Great.
Yeah. Reverting and non-reverting.
Yes. So recall, we talked about the fund was set up initially, supposed to be set up as a non-reverting fund. And that because it's been general fund line. So I think at the last council meeting, we talked about in order to do this appropriately, there would have to be an ordinance established to the commissioners to have this set up to where we would receive the fund into, actually setting up this non-reverting fund. And then also there would need to be a resolution passed by the council to transfer the 8,000 that's currently in that general fund line into the newly established non-reverting fund. And then finally, we talked about once all of those were agreed upon, then there was the question on reallocating the $30,333.34 that had gone back
Had gone into the general fund.
into the general fund the last couple of years.
So if I'm hearing you right, we need a fund of some kind to be established to put the money in. However, Susan wants us to do that, or maybe the commissioners do it. And 2, we need a transfer of funds
We gotta have
from
ordinance
general
first.
into that.
Yeah, let's back up. Okay, what I just handed all of you is an actual email that I received from Lori Rogers, right, from the State Board of Accounts. And what this email speaks to specifically is what I said at the last month's regular meeting. That first and foremost, the auditor needs to set up a 4,000 series fund. Jackie Clemens intervened, and because I made the comment that the commissioners need to establish an ordinance, right? And in this email from Lori Rogers, that's exactly what she says. Now,
What's exactly what she says?
well, read if you. I can read the email if
I
you
mean,
want.
what, is there,
I can read the email if you want.
just
but
what we're dealing with?
Here's the documentation. This
So they
is
set
from
up
Lori
the
Rogers.
commissioners set up an ordinance.
This is not Jim Kemp. It is the State Board of Accounts. Okay.
You want,
All right. So basically, you create a 4,000 series fund is what they refer to as a home rule fund. So this money that's sitting in the general account, we need to simply do an appropriation out of the general account over into this new fund that we established.
A transfer, probably, right?
No, it'd
No,
be
it's
an
gotta be-
A
appropriation.
new
It'd be
appropriation.
appropriation. 'Cause
Okay,
just so that our language is accurate,
new appropriation.
when I hear transfer, that's from line item to line item to line item. When an appropriation is what you're taking money out of a revenue source and dumping it in something else.
Okay.
So
Susan's
now,
nodding her head.
what Teresa has, I think it was you, Teresa, that told me that you made the claim, did you find an ordinance on this subject matter?
Yes,
So the commissioners have already passed an ordinance.
yes, back when this all took place.
Okay.
Okay, and it's been recorded in the recorder's office.
I didn't realize.
So all we have to do is very simple, is Julie needs to set up a 4,000 series fund.
Correct.
Julie needs to get a copy of that ordinance.
Yeah.
That ordinance needs to bolt onto that fund because I'm assuming the ordinance speaks specifically to what Parks and Rec can do with this money.
Yes, it does. It actually clarifies and justifies everything he said.
Perfect, okay. And then we need to pass an ordinance
No,
No, the
Doing
ordinance
this,
is
or
there.
how do we get it done?
it's already passed.
You don't have to do another ordinance.
So, yeah, it's already, so the ordinance has already been done, so all you gotta do is set up the, yeah, but we gotta do the appropriation.
Yeah, so, but the appropriation has to be advertised, so it'd be the December meeting before we could get him in.
Yeah, right, but we just need to do,
An
And
appropriation.
then the appropriation for the amount.
and
that
that's
you want.
something that you gotta draft, right?
Do you?
And then I
do you
can
have
transfer the
form
money
sheet
that's in
that
the other account
she-
into this
you
account.
can transfer, there's our request
Yeah.
form.
Okay, so,
All right, so Julie, you're gonna advertise an appropriation,
okay,
and then in
Check.
December, we'll pass it, and it's over with.
Yep.
And I'm sending him the form to
All right.
that request form also.
So there you go.
excellent, thank you.
Solved.
Good.
That's it.
Wow.
Done.
You were
Good
quick.
job,
Minute and a
Roger.
half.
It turns out you were right after
That
all.
was
We
too
didn't need
easy.
to drag you through all these meetings,
Too
but, you know, I'm glad we
Let's
did.
revisit.
Huh?
Let's revisit.
Yeah, we should just listen to Julie and none of this would happen, but go ahead.
We sure we don't wanna argue about this for a little bit?
Yeah.
We need to revisit this.
Kevin, you wanna bring up
Again.
$30,333.34.
Oh, it's less than one thought.
And I'm assuming the auditor's office,
3334.
yeah, but can the auditor's office reconcile and make sure that number's accurate?
Yes.
All right.
While we're on funds, Kevin, you want to mention about setting up a music center pilot or no, music center excess revenue fund?
I think we've talked about this before, but
Let's get
you
it.
know, as you receive excess revenue from the music center, as you do with other funds, maybe the riverboat fund, things like that, it would be nice if the county had a fund that went to, so that you as a council and as the county commissioners know that you have X dollars in this fund to use for a project. So it doesn't just get dumped into the general fund and you don't know where it's at. I mean, yes, you know what it is, but you don't know where it's at or what it's been spent on. You know, I think it's something that you need to use it as for a project, whatever that is, you know? And I would do the same thing, like to see you do the same thing with the pilot, you know? And I know that there's a discussion item here, but, you know, I think the pilot could go into that same fund. I just think any of those music center funds should go into a fund that you as a council and the commissioners know what it's for, or what's there, how much it is.
Well, where's it, is it currently going into the general? Is that what you're saying?
Currently goes there.
And that's a problem because,
I don't know it's a problem,
You
but
just
you
don't-
as a
We
council
don't
and the
know.
commissioners don't really know how much it is or that you've just spent, I mean, it's just spent on your daily operations. And I would like for you to see that it's used for something, you know, and I don't know what that is, Scott.
so it's
Maybe
more, so the problem is more that you want to know what we're spending it on.
No, I don't
No,
know.
it's for,
Okay, can I intervene here on this? Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, I
Just trying to figure out what problem it's solving.
first of all, can I ask the question, approximately estimated, I mean, how much money are we talking about?
For this
as
year.
What we know it to be currently,
Well,
on an annualized basis?
Well, I think, you know, it's.
$30.
65,000 is what your pilot's gonna be this year.
Okay, and then,
It's been 55,000 the last 2 or
Yeah.
3 years.
Well, but excess
Okay.
revenue,
And then
right?
your excess revenue is gonna be in the area of 65 to,
so 120 grand, somewhere around that neighborhood, all right.
Combined.
Right, because this issue that he's raising, and I've said this in a PAC meeting earlier, all right, that it's the same issue with the Parks and Rec. That what we do is we know we're going to have this revenue coming in, right? We create a 4,000 series fund. We develop an ordinance that speaks specifically on how that money, what that money is to be spent on. So if we make a decision that that is there to subsidize public safety, then we put it in writing. And that way you clear it up. The problem now is you got 120 grand rolling in, and you don't even know how much you got coming in, number one. So I completely support that. It's the correct way to set it up so that we alleviate any sort of confusion down the road.
yeah. I mean, I've been to council meetings where I've
So-
heard you say, well, we can take that fund and
Yeah.
transfer it over. And I think it'd just be, and you know how much is in that fund. I just think it'd be nice for
It
you
would.
to know what it is and that you can use it for whatever you want to use it for.
Well,
I don't care. You know, I'm not picking nickels and dimes. I just think you ought to know that you've got 120, 150, or
Right.
you've saved it up over 3 years and you've got $450,000 in there to use for something.
I agree.
We can buy police
So the
cars.
pilot is like, it's like property taxes.
Pay
Right.
property taxes.
And so do we want
Property taxes.
that also? We don't want it to go where it would normally go. We want it to go.
Well,
into a
first of all, we
separate
don't have to
fund.
make a decision right now.
Right, we're
And
talking
you don't
through
have
it.
to merge those in there. I mean,
Yeah, the
I'm
pilot
saying-
is
But
like
it's
a
not that
property
much
tax
money.
thing, right?
And I take, to me, the
Yeah.
approach would more, be more so, because you keep in mind, the original conversation to go from 5 to 8 was to raise that in order to be able to offset some of the cost for public safety.
Right.
Correct? All right.
It was the original version.
That was the original conversation, right? So this is revenue that we've got coming in, right? And that revenue, we ought to make a decision. I don't know how many police cars we have to buy every year, but it's
In the
fairly,
11-12 fund, I'll be telling you that early.
it's fairly, we spend a lot of money every year having to replace
Few a
police
year,
cars.
3 a year maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
something like that.
we spend
Yeah.
quite a bit of money every year replacing police cars, right? So,
So,
and
so
this
let's
is
get
not a
back
lot
to-
of money.
It's not, and,
So-
and if we want to, I mean, if it's going anywhere, public safety would be my
With-
guess.
Me
where it
too,
goes.
yeah.
If we want to say that's all we can spend it on.
Right, which is what we would do.
Here's the problem
I mean,
itself,
I
to
mean,
your question,
yeah.
here's the problem itself. We got the general fund right now, all the excess money from the music center is just dumping it into the general fund. We don't
Right.
have a name on it, we don't have a dollar
Right.
amount on it.
Right.
What this does is it sets up a fund so we can see, we have a name.
It was
Music
put into
center,
the rainy day, it was not.
Brown County Music Center, excess revenue,
Right.
pilots. That way we have an account, we can track, this is how much has
Right.
come from that, and here's the account.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if
Well, I
we're,
mean,
keep
not
in
a
mind,
tracking problem.
keep
We
in
know what's
mind,
coming in.
keep in mind,
No, it's a track.
it
Well,
doesn't,
you do, but you don't.
it doesn't really matter, because the reality is if you use 120 grand from this bucket to buy some police cars every year, that's going to decrease the demand on the general fund.
Yeah. And it's
So it all
doing that
washes
anyway.
out in
It
the
might
end.
not go to the general fund, it might be the rainy day fund.
It was
Whatever.
into the
That would be a
rainy
good-
day fund.
but-
It
but-
was
But
not
Kevin,
into
right
the
now, we
general
can't
fund.
put any money in the
Okay,
rainy day
let's
because we don't have any money.
pause, because we were not understanding the facts. It's not going into the general?
No, it's been going into the rainy day fund.
Okay.
The problem I see it is you as
Yes.
a council don't.
Okay,
know
but the
how
rainy
much
day
that
fund
is.
hasn't grown at all.
Just better
Every
bookkeeping.
time she gets that check, she puts that money in there.
Which
Right
is
up
a
until
great
I was
place to
told
put
I
it too.
can't do that.
I like
The
that.
I
pilot
haven't
money,
done it
I don't
since
know about
then.
the excess revenue, but the
Okay,
pilot
well, that's a
money-
separate
Do we
subject for
not
a different
want,
time.
okay, so
So anyway, yeah, I'm,
so maybe that's the problem we're trying to solve for is we choose where it goes
And
right.
as a
the police
council.
cars are not hitting
Whether
your
it's the
fund,
general,
they're
whether
hitting
it's
my
rainy
fund.
day, whether it's public safety,
That was
let's
a
choose
mistake.
where we want it to go. And I pick really any three of those. I mean, general's going to public safety. I mean, that's where
Right.
our growth is in terms of expenses. I mean,
Right, right.
so
But,
let's
but,
just call
but
it-
also keep in mind
Yeah.
in the general fund, the miscellaneous revenue, which is what this is part of. All right, that is a certain percentage of the overall revenue, that 10 million a year in revenue. Because the general fund is made up primarily of income tax, all right, primarily, and then
Majority of it.
property tax, and then you have the annual
But
miscellaneous
if it's going
revenue.
into the rainy day fund, is that?
But right now-
Different.
Well, but hang on a minute, right now, if we would have gone in for 2026 and yanked $1 million out of the general fund, just transferred into the rainy day fund, you want to talk about red ink, we'd have had major red ink. So we're not even in a position right now to where we could even appropriate any money out of the general fund into the rainy day because we can't afford it. Okay? Because first things first, we're trying to prop up the 4,700 account to get the 4,700 account in the black and try to get some reserves built up in that. So it's anyway.
Good idea.
Yeah.
We're gonna
What
go
did we
for it.
decide?
So
I'm gonna make a non-reverting fund in the 4,000 so that we can put that money in there.
Well,
so
let's
that
decide
it-
as
yeah, let's not do that until we
We
get
gotta
the
do the
ordinance
ordinance.
drafted of what we're going to do.
Yeah, maybe you don't, I'm just saying this.
No, I think
I think it's a great
it'd be
idea.
nice for you to know what you've received.
And where it's going.
the money needs to be
Because when you Start
segregated.
looking through these reports at the end of the year, when you get to budget time, and it's like, oh, we don't know what that is.
Right.
I mean, it'd be nice for you to know. because-
Where it specifically is coming from.
It's a good way to say, hey, this is what came from the music center.
And hypothetically,
And this
that
is what we
revenue should grow.
specifically spent it on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kevin?
so we'll do that. We don't need to discuss it.
No, we don't.
Right.
No.
Thank you.
All right.
Susan, is that a council ordinance or is that a commissioner ordinance?
A non-reverting fund typically is set up by council.
Okay.
There we go.
On your flip.
Can you set that up for us?
I mean, now, wait a second. Are we deciding to do a non-reverting fund?
Okay, first of all, let's not make any decisions right now at all. Okay.
I'm just
We'll
not
wait
sure.
for
That kind of binds our
the
hands.
The only decision we need to make, the only decision I think that we need to make today is that we're going to agree to just simply move forward in this direction.
Yes.
And we'll hammer out,
Just determining. where
set
it
up a
goes.
4,000 series fund, set up the ordinance.
All right, so we're not doing it, we're going that way.
We're just making a decision. We need to move in that
Do the
direction.
non-reverting and it
That's
keeps
it.
in that.
Because
All right,
technically we can't make.
next item on our agenda, I wanna see if we can take, you available for take a 10-minute break, Kevin, or you gotta run?
Do we need a break?
Yeah, so I can do 10 minutes.
You want a break?
Yeah.
Yeah, take a
Judy
10-minute
wants a
break.
break. We do a 5-minute break?
Because what's the
5-minute
Goes to
break.
10. So I'll do a 5-minute break.
Just call it.
Well, it takes you 5
Hurry
minutes.
up.
Soon as Sarah and Jim finish their cigarette.
Hurry up.
No, it's a discussion, a committee discussion.
Yeah.
We don't have 4 smokers.
And you're not going outside? I'm sorry, what?
I don't hear very often.
Since when?
Months and months and months ago.
Really?
So that's your problem.
Is that my problem?
That's what happened.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
Start smoking.
Oh,
No,
geez.
don't.
No, I'm kidding.
All right. Joel, you've been awfully talkative today.
He talks to me.
We could solve all of our problems real quick. We're just bleeding money. All we have to do is fire this council,
Okay.
keep the damn money here,
Okay.
and spend it other ways. We spend so much money trying to have these really brilliant people come in and tell us how not to spend the money. I think I've heard you echo that before.
We pay.
Pay big bucks to have people come in and tell us how not to spend big bucks.
How not to spend big bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Interesting.
Well, it's just an oversimplification of a problem, but.
Let's just let it flow. Just turn it loose. No, yeah.
Well, I think we step out. No. No. So we're not doing it. We're not doing
Hello,
it.
my friend.
No, we're saying she's not using
How
that.
are you? I'm okay, how are you?
Oh,
Good.
there.
And lots of things visited. So,
We don't pay.
no, so if I find ways where they can cost save this year or 26, then I would say. Because Brad absorbed, what was it, salary into the general salary. It's another,
But I'm coming to over here is, hey, here's our.
so we have not touched or tapped into our opioid funds.
There is no contribution.
And I'd like to request that they take that money and use it to relieve grant budget, because it can be used for restricted, but it can be used for salary. She's like, yeah, and then the $61,000 in my budget for the center staff. We have $171,000. Spots too.
Because then the county, their money into it. But you're the whole emphasis of going is facilitating the balance side of the industry. Well, right.
And it goes up, yeah, and I applied for a 5% increase this year, because when I was talking to them, they're like, we don't know, but I did get the letter confirmed my 5%, so my budget amount is correct.
$67,000.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
I don't think I put it in my spirit because I was.
It was cold there.
Talking about that, but then we just got our police report to salary rates, which are, we may be hit for $800,000 plus the state.
They get very good presentation. I love this. I do too. And bag of That's where I got the big bag. I didn't know that.
I mean, there's work around. I just don't care.
Alright, now it's not letting me, if I'm on the network, why is it not letting me pull up my reports, my ledgers?
It should be. You shouldn't have to show in there anything else.
If unable to complete network request, host, error, writing data connection, and existing connection.
It's free money.
Not here. But it's not even.
We just had a $40 million sewer project. We just got $40 million from the feds. That's a slow. Yeah, I mean. So, I like both of them.
Well, the unrestricted opioid funds can be used in general fund money. So if that's the case, can we transfer that money out of the opioid fund into general fund? Just to continue. Because nobody's, I'm not saying this is gonna be a solution, but every year prior.
That comes in, it's supposed to go into that fund.
Right, but we can transfer it after that. Because it's, I'm talking the non-restricted, not the restricted. So if we won't be able to do that every year because we've accumulated that much in there.
Well, they're given,
Not all the
keep it. When it comes in, you've got certain numbers, certain funds you have to play. So I don't see a reason why we couldn't transfer the original loan. Did you pull the original?
I pulled everything I could find on it. I talked to him. He told me that we were required by law to bring that money and which I already knew that, so I don't like. We fight back sometimes over, I heard this rock, you know, like. He's just not, I don't know if he wasn't engaged in my questions. I don't know what the problem was, but he would be able to. When I called him repeatedly, when I sent an email, this is the board's request. Call me. Yeah.
So at least they've addressed it.
Yes.
Yes, he's a field.
Yes.
You can't call him. You have to basically, I mean, the only person I know that gets a hold of him
Well, all those
is
generals
Jim.
have to prove that.
You tell me, please.
So I think the answer is,
It's not an ongoing solution, but it's a solution. Because that money, we're set to get that money all the way out to 38, yeah, and it decreases every year. This is just accumulation of us not touching. We were supposed to, and yeah.
The only one that we have running yeah. Good money out.
Within the last 2 weeks.
Chuck was here, when we did it, that's been a long time.
Oh, okay, because there's $79,000 in there right now that I want to suggest we use for, yes, use for Melissa Townsend's money to help relieve Brad's budget. Because Brad absorbed her pay.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
And
But you
the
don't-
remainder that's not spent.
Now you can see it or proceed
You're
to
in
fruition.
red. In that county, you don't bring money unless you've done some miraculous things this year. That's in the red, it should be able to relieve that to pay that off. Which I like to be able to tell you.
Finding out what needs to do what and how we need to do it.
You're probably ready to go back to Florida, aren't you?
I haven't been to Florida since March.
Oh,
We're gonna
wow. It just seems like you have.
No, we'll go after Christmas. Yeah.
Okay, next item on the
Did you use
agenda.
that? 'Cause I know he didn't.
I fooled him, he thought he did.
I delegated.
Yeah, let's give Darren a second here.
Well, we made some high-level decisions out there, so.
Bet you did.
We can't decide anything legally today.
I copied them straight out.
Really?
You want me to hide them? I think they're a good starting point.
Darren?
You don't have to take credit for them. We can start, Darren will pick it
Well,
up.
could I pick up, just real quick on the last thing we
Sure.
did, and Jim, we were just discussing.
We were having a cigarette break back there.
You were outside and we were still working. There's the pilot, that's property taxes paid by the music center.
Property
okay?
tax in lieu of, or
Pilot
payment in lieu of property tax.
Property taxes.
Right.
Okay, it's like everyone else pays property
Yeah, I
taxes.
know.
Everyone but the
Okay,
state park.
I know.
Okay, everybody but the
Right.
state
So we
park
have that, and we have excess
pays
revenue.
property taxes,
Right.
right? Those property taxes go towards essential county services, roads, public safety.
That goes into the general fund,
Okay,
right?
which are roads, and
No, it
public
doesn't.
safety.
There's no road money out
That's
of the general
where
fund.
property taxes go. Okay,
Not in the road.
Property
Sorry.
taxes don't pay for roads.
Whatever. Okay.
sorry. Property taxes go to essential public
It
services.
goes into the general fund.
Which are essential public services.
It's basically,
The excess revenue can be thought of as more of a, kind of a revenue that is coming from an outside source that can accumulate over time to become something more significant. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think we should take the property tax fund revenues off of the music center that should go towards, like everyone else's property taxes go to, essential public services. Put it where the essential public services property taxes usually go. On the excess revenue side, treat that as essentially a cumulative capital revenue fund, or put it towards Economic Development Corporation contribution so that we can make that fund more significant over time, leverage those dollars, like Greg was saying, $200 for every dollar you put in. I think we should split those and use them in that way. But it sounds like this thing came out of nowhere. I don't know why it's even on our agenda, but we need to talk more about it, understand what we're doing here, because if we take pilot property taxes out of our general fund, out of our revenues, which are already short, okay, we're basically taking it, well, pick where you want to take it out of. You want to take it out of sheriff pay, you want to take it out of health department, we're kind of subtracting from something we already can't fund. And so I just hesitate to take property taxes that everyone pays that are being generated by a tourism business out of the property tax pool. It just seems like we're creating another state park kind of arrangement, which is,
We're actually making this too complicated.
I think so too,
It's all
yeah.
revenue, it's all revenue from the music center. That's all we need to do is.
Wait,
have
part of
one
it's
number.
property
No,
taxes.
and
it's
Julie, right now,
part of
historically,
it's property
all right,
taxes.
can
Right, but this goes to another discussion. We're gonna have me as one of the board members of the music center, there's a discussion we need to have. So I mean, it's,
Right.
I mean, it's probably gonna simplify.
during your
this.
term, you receive this money from the Maple Leaf Management. The money comes in, I don't know if they pay you by check or you ACH it in. Huh?
They give us a check.
Okay. Where do you allocate that money?
We've allocated it before into the rainy day fund.
Okay, but then you made a comment earlier that
Yes.
somebody told you
We
to stop
realized
doing that?
Yes.
Okay, so
So then it goes
historically,
into the general fund.
so right now, currently, what's true today and true for 2026, if nothing changes, this little bit of money, which is not very much, as a percentage of $24 million, it's an itty bitty dollar
pocket
amount of money.
change.
Okay, it's pocket change. It's pocket change. All right, and it's been going into the general fund. The general fund, and that would be in miscellaneous revenue. Because the general fund is comprised of miscellaneous revenue, which is what this money is that's coming in, and the bulk of the general fund is income tax. And then because you can remember, the school corporation basically takes 60% of the income tax. All right. And the other, you got income tax, miscellaneous revenue, and then you got property tax. Of that $10 million, that $10 million funds 25 departments. Your department's funded out of it. Commissioners take a big chunk. Law enforcement, the jail, sheriff deputies, which are basically bulk of the general fund, is labor cost. Okay, you got labor costs and you got employee benefits is what that's paying for. So the reality is that if you you can leave it like it is, all right, I am in agreement with Kevin, if you pull the 120 grand and you no longer deposit that into the general fund, rather than you put it into a separate fund, and then that separate fund is used to buy police cars. I'm using that as an example. Scott, what you've just done, it doesn't really matter whether you're buying police cars over here out of this $120,000 a year fund, or you're paying for police cars out of the general fund. You're paying for the same expense.
What's the point? It's more of just a statement we're trying
I
to
know.
make.
I think the value of the intrinsic value of what Kevin's proposal is at least Maple Leaf, they understand specifically how this money's being spent. Right now, it goes into the general fund and it gets lost.
I don't think we as a Maple Leaf care.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
we
that's
don't
not the
care.
problem
I
at all.
think you as a council should care.
Well, I do care, but I care about the big picture. I care about the credit rating. I care about the cost of county government. I care about what our trying to stabilize our taxes so our taxes
If you,
go.
I mean, if you want to continue to go where it's at, that's fine.
Yeah, and I don't
You need
think-
to know what it is.
The easiest thing, the path of least resistance, because I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, is you just
It's
can.
more over the excess revenue, not the pilot.
Right. But to try to segregate this, then that creates more work in your office to try to track this stuff, because it's easy for us to sit here and talk about it, but it's a completely different subject.
Well, they always will come in two separate checks.
Yeah,
They're always two
okay,
separate
they're
checks.
two
One is
separate.
property
Yeah,
tax.
yeah. So, I mean, what we've been doing is just stick it in the general fund.
And at different times.
And
So the pilot will come in
right, but
December,
it's all going
excess
into the same
revenue will come
bucket.
in January.
It's all miscellaneous revenue, and if there comes a point to where we've got our cash reserves begin to grow, then we can go in and pull some money out of that and stick it into the rainy day fund, because obviously for me personally, the goal would be to build the rainy day fund to the point to where we don't have to use the county credit card when it comes to capital improvements vis-a-vis a $4 million general obligation bond. Okay? We should not be in a position where we have to borrow money to take care of capital improvements. That's insane.
Primarily
So
what this is an exercise in tightening up on internal controls.
Yeah.
it's an internal control, it's
And this is
policy,
what we need, and Julie's
and we've
working
got
on
to
it.
pay it. I mean, to me personally, I don't have any control over the revenue. None. But I do have control as a county council member over expenses. And this is an expense problem. We do not have a revenue problem, and I can prove that. That's not just some kind of hyperbole. All right, it's an expense issue. So, that's where we are.
So you're saying leave it as it is?
Yeah, I think right for now, we can, for now, just leave it like it is,
Need more discussion.
because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
What matters for traffic?
It
Huh?
doesn't matter, so you know how much you've gotten from the
Right.
music
Well,
center.
let me give you an example. I pay out, well, I won't say how much I pay out. I pay out a lot in federal and state and local taxes, okay? As far as I'm concerned, all of my money I pay to the federal government goes to the highway system.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea to put it in one area and so that we can.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter.
I know, but I also think it's a great idea so that we can track it
Yeah, I don't
and
see any
show
problem with tracking it.
where
Why is that a
we.
problem?
It is tracked.
Well, no, it's not, but that's up to us paying attention.
We know where it comes from and where it goes.
Well, when.
I know, but this would make it.
Create an account line to receive that money in the general fund.
Whatever, let's move on. What's the next thing on the agenda? Let's not,
Right.
we don't need
I agree.
to. Hey, can we just move
Create an
on?
account line to put into the
Let's
fund.
not,
Put in the
you know,
fund.
we're in the weeds
It's
here.
in there.
Yes,
Let's get out
That's
of
all
the
we're
weeds.
doing. We're naming-
Exactly.
We're naming the
We
fund
get
that it's
lost a
going
lot in
into.
our funds.
Right, so let's just move forward. What's next on
All
the
right,
agenda?
we'll, put a line in there, right, Julie?
Nah, yeah, whatever.
Yes.
And how do you turn that into $1 million? That's my question, okay?
Well, that would be the approach that I was suggesting, which is you invest it over time, you let it accumulate. Not the property tax piece, you let it
We got bigger-
accumulate
We got bigger fish
like
to
a
fry.
cumulative
All
capital
right, the
fund.
next item is they're talking about a 50-50 instead of a 25-75 split.
Who's talking about that? Whose agenda item is this?
This is,
It's Gary's agenda item because he was at the last Community Center board meeting that came up.
right, and it was considered as to what, it's all discussed it before we implement something.
Well,
Ron brought it up at the meeting, they entertained it, and we figured let's put it through the system before something goes formal on it.
Ron brought it up at our last music center meeting to take the excess revenue from a 25-75 split to a 50-50 split. And in that conversation, he also, I think he was looking for a compromise, trying to get the 50-50 and said we could even do away with the pilot. That's where some discussion came in and the thing his motion got a second. Actually, I seconded it, but it didn't pass only because they wanted to table it to our next meeting. It will pass at a 50-50 split. I think the rest of the board also doesn't want to do away with the pilot either, because it's two separate
Yeah,
things.
two separate
I think Ron
issues.
was just looking for, and so it came up and Gary was there and, you know, I don't know that, and Darren can speak too, but I don't think the consensus of the board was don't do away with the pilot, but let's go to a 50-50 split.
How much money are we talking about?
Well, the pilot's $65,000 this year.
I'm not talking about pilot, we're talking
And
about
then
excess revenue.
Excess revenue is gonna split it somewhere between $150,000 and $180,000.
So you're
looking at-
350 grand a year in excess
Hold on
revenue?
a second, that's
No,
the county's
that's what
portion
it's gonna split at. So you're gonna get 90,000 of that, so.
Okay,
combined.
so the total,
50.
so
180
projected,
total.
if we forecast excess revenue out of the music center for 2026, how much money are we talking about?
Or do 2025, because that's a real
Or
number.
2025? What was the excess?
It'll be about somewhere between 75 and 90,000, depends on how.
That's apart from the pilot.
That's apart from the. pilot.
And
So
that's
we're
a
only,
total.
hang on a minute.
That's what your portion, out of
The
50-50
county's
split, that's
portion.
what the county's portion would be.
Okay, I'm not, that was
Yeah.
not my question. My question before the split is what's the total dollar amount?
About between 150 and 180,000.
So it's peanuts. It's just a little bit of money.
That went down though, right? That's down, that's a
Well, it
down
always
number.
is, and that's why I don't.
No,
like
last year it
this.
was 280, wasn't it, total?
No,
Or something
last
like
year
that?
it was under that.
Under that,
It was 280 the year before.
2 years ago?
267 2 years ago.
So we're down trending.
So
Well,
you,
we're not downtrending. There are capital expenses at the music center that have needed attention.
Yeah, there's
Capital
things that did get done
capital
from the very
expenses that
beginning, so.
invest in the profitability of the music center.
so even if it were 200 grand, right? 200 grand, that would mean, you know, right now, the county would be getting at 25%, 50K, and the foundation be getting 150K, right? And if you go to 50-50, then you're talking 100 grand to the county, 100 grand to the foundation. Okay. The innkeeper's tax revenue is there to promote
Development.
a county that imposes pursuant to section of this shall create, based on the state mercy. And it proposes the section shall create whose purpose is to promote the development and growth of convention and visitation in the county. Statute. So what the statute reads, and the CVC has complete discretionary control over that. Okay. Before we even, I don't know why we're even bringing this up, because I don't think it needs to be addressed right now, because what I am going to want to address is that the council voted unanimously several months ago, and we encouraged and recommended that the CVC create a governing document.
And they're working on that.
Okay, because that first things first, that governing document needs to be done. All right. Number two, I'm going to hand these out. I'm going to give this to you, Kevin. Because another thing somebody stuck on the agenda here was something to do with this innkeeper's tax that the CVC and the Parks and Rec. Because currently in the 2026 budget, I believe you guys put the line items for Parks and Rec.
Say it's on the agenda?
I saw it somewhere. I thought it was
Not on here.
But this is all, this whole conversation.
It's not on the agenda.
Well, but somebody put it on there, didn't you
It's
put it
not
on
on
there?
there, look at it.
I don't know, somebody had it on there, something to do with the freaking, the budget and the CVC. Oh, I know it, well, never mind. Yeah, I got an email from somebody, never mind. Maybe bringing something up that I shouldn't have brought up. But what I just handed you, what I just handed you is before we even begin to address these, this issue, this thing that's on the agenda, we need to back up and we need to get the work completed to create this governing document, right? And what factors are going to be used by the CVC board when it comes to issuing grants every year, because you all got $2 million coming in, or will have, once everything gets into the pipeline, basically on an annual basis, provided our occupancy rate stays where it has been for the last 3 years. So what I did is I drafted this document, and I had a 90-minute conversation with Eric Cook. And what we need to do, because and what happened was, I submitted these questions, and I'm not going to have, you guys can read through this on your own. We have got to create this document, and we have to define the state statute, what I read off earlier, whose purpose is to promote the development, growth, and convention visitation of the county. That first of all, Eric Cook, in this 90-minute conversation, told me that the challenge the General Assembly has is that we have 92 counties that all enjoy their autonomy. So when they go to work on passing legislation, they typically will write it in a very ambiguous way. And then once they write the legislation, it's kind of up to the county or the municipality, the political subdivision, to go in and do an interpretation of the statute. So they can take that a little step further and define it in the context of the county. So when we look at the state statute for innkeeper's tax, we should define, how do we define whose purpose is to promote the development, growth of convention and visitation in the county? Number one. Number two, the problem with the State Board of Accounts, because I had a conversation with the State Board of Accounts, and I asked them specifically, can I go in and take and use innkeeper's tax and pay $550,000 a year for emergency services? And she goes, no. I said, okay, that's fine. Can you submit something to me in writing? She goes, no, because we don't have anything. So the problem with this statute isn't the statute, it's really with the State Board of Accounts. Because the thing I find interesting after a conversation with Eric Cook and having a conversation with the State Board of Accounts is they don't have any prohibited transactions. The State Board of Accounts should have a document that they should adopt and approve that speaks specifically for all 92 counties. What is prohibited? What transactions are prohibited? And you know what? They don't have that in writing. So I have a very difficult time when you're talking to 2 or 3 employees within the State Board of Accounts and they make a subjective anecdotal statement, and I'm supposed to take that as gospel? No, I don't think so. So what I want to see us do is let's clean this up. And the reason I really want to see you all get this document in place, because if you got $2 million coming in a year, and you told me, testified back when Andy Rogers started this whole thing, that you had 34 grand, you had no money. And so over the last 45 years, this thing has just grown exponentially. To me, when I look at the CVC today, I think of the CVC as almost like the Brown County Foundation. Because going out to cover the CVB. Now, what I don't know is, of that $1 million a year budget for the CVB, what percentage of that money is used for marketing, buying ad space to promote the county, to get people in, to maintain our occupancy rate, right? Because if we don't maintain our occupancy rate, then these local shops in Nashville aren't going to have the traffic they need, right? The restaurants aren't going to have anybody in there. So it's the occupancy rate that's critical. That was the whole premise for developing and creating the music center. Right? And the music center was to replace the place that burned down. So that's the history. But going forward with $2 million worth of revenue coming in, how do we allocate that revenue? And furthermore, if we don't have a governing document, using the criteria and or factors that the Brown County Community Foundation uses when they have to make decisions to issue grants, that document needs to be in place, number one, to clear up this debate of what we can spend money on and what we can't spend money on. That has got to be resolved. All right. And if we got to go in and file suit against the State Board of Accounts, then so be it. All right. But we need to clearly define how that revenue is going to be allocated each and every year. Number two, we need to do that. Why? To protect the 5 board members. And number 3, that needs to be implemented, because what I object to is having the council and or the commissioners making appointments to the CVC based on political biases. So I want money spent on X. These 2 people aren't going to give me what I want, so I'm going to replace them. And if what we're doing is constantly replacing CVC board members because you've got your own personal hidden agenda and you're going to go in and try to replace board members, you can't develop the continuity you need and the intellectual capital that you need in order to be able to manage that $2 million worth of disbursements on an annualized basis. So this document is critical to the success of this county. And then furthermore, lastly, and I'll finish with this, how many non-for-profits do we have in the county?
101 or 104.
Okay, so, thank God the county government doesn't have to fund the non-profits, right? So we're blessed to have this revenue source coming in, both from the foundation and from the CVC to help support the nonprofit work, which is instrumental to the quality of life within our community, is it not?
Well, and that's what's been good about the Quality of Life Board, that's a group that's been working on this. It's been a great work group and looking at all that, and that's, they're kind of a sounding board for the CDC too, and it's all the, the grants will
right.
kind of work through that group, and so it's,
right.
And, we're looking with people, John Elliott from the Community Foundation, we could potentially see somebody else from the foundation on there, weighing in as to, hey, we can do this, but maybe you could do this, and so we're not overlapping.
Right. And see, to me, this funding source for the not-for-profit community, and then plus all the volunteers, because you're talking about a lot of people that volunteer their time and energy, and they don't get paid a dime to do that. All right, so they're doing it out of the goodwill of their heart. Because the one thing we as a county lack is, it would be nice, Bartholomew County would not be where it is today if it wasn't for the Miller family. It would not be where it is today if it wasn't for Dick Johnson. It wouldn't be, Tony Morvac, who owned Applied Laboratories. He gave $1 million downtown to renovate the ice cream place. I can't think of the name of it. Zacaros, yeah. So Bartholomew County has had a lot of private equity with residents that have an attachment to the county who have given an enormous amount of money. We were blessed, just recently I read, that the individual that's the retired CEO of Lily's, I think he cut a check for 250 grand to the Historical Society. So we don't have, Mr. Big that's worth, $10 billion to come into the county and say, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you this. But in place of that, what we do have is we do have the innkeeper's tax. We now have the music center, right? And it's working. It's working really well. And so let's not tinker with it, but how can we improve? And the first things first is let's get that governing document done. Okay? And can we get, because you guys need to draft that. That needs to come before the council, and clearly the council and the CVC board, we need to agree on that document. And then as we go forward, then when you guys make decisions on how you're going to allocate those resources, and then when you turn in your Form 1s, we can go and say, okay, I see how they did that because here's the scoring system that's used, right? And it keeps everybody honest.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Jim.
back to the 50-50 split. Any problem if it goes to that?
No, I don't want to leave it like it is.
I think it was just a, because it
I
came
know.
up, he just brought for a discussion.
There's no
So you
reason
get your act together and then we talk about it.
later down, yeah.
Well, it's not even a council decision on the 50.
No.
I understand that's a music center split.
It's part of the agreement, and the council signed off on the agreement, if I remember correctly.
But I believe in that agreement, the music center has the right to, may change, yes, the split. And that doesn't open the agreement for any amendments. So it's just, it has to be this, but it may change.
Right.
So we're looking at,
So it's not our
So
decision.
They don't even have to ask you permission if they want to give you 50.
The issue was is trading off pilot for 50-50,
Yeah, but
that's off the table.
Yeah.
That's fine,
And
no
there's
problem.
nothing in any of the documents that have anything to do with pilot. That's something that we as the music center have agreed to do.
That's
There's
fine.
nothing in writing.
Yeah, 5 years from now, if you got $1 million coming in, okay, let's have a
Let's
conversation.
hope it is.
I hope it is too.
Here's my issue. I am a voting member on the Maple Leaf Management Board. So as the council representative to that board, I would like to get the opinion of council.
Leave it as it is mine.
Well, that's yours.
So
but
there you go.
That's the only one I've heard.
Speak up.
I think that's something you have to bring up at a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, are you asking the
Some
council if
action's
you
gonna
think
be
we need
taken,
more
you have to
money
have
to
action.
fund
No, I-
county government? Is that what you're asking?
I'm just asking my opinion, because I've got my opinion on it.
He wants to represent us, that's what he wants to do.
I mean, what's your opinion?
But, did you have something, Susan?
I just want to clarify what I think the question is, because I think I'm confused at what the question is, and maybe everybody else is too. I thought Kevin came to talk about splitting from, instead of 75-25, where the county only gets 25% of the excess profits, to splitting 50-50. Not talking about the pilot,
Correct.
actually.
Correct.
But separate from the pilot.
I
That's right.
actually didn't put this as an agenda item, Gary did.
I did.
Right,
Because of
and
the
had
discussion at our
you,
meeting.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Pilot is out, it's separate, we get the pilot, this is
Yeah, yeah.
a separate issue.
right.
Yeah.
But
So,
part of the discussion of 50-50 was instead of 25-75, go 50-50 and eliminate the pilot.
and eliminate the pilot.
Well,
So
and
is
that was a discussion that Ron Sanders brought up at county.
But that's dead, correct?
So is that the question you want to get answered from the other council members? Go to 50-50
Yeah, just get
and
it.
Well,
go away
Kevin,
with the
if we did
pilot?
that,
No,
if we
no,
did that,
no.
isn't that
No,
less
that's-
money for the
No.
county
I'm
than
asking
more?
you what
Like,
the
why would we do
question is. I
that?
know what your opinion is.
So
I'm
you're
asking
asking
you
us
what
if we
the
want
question
less
I
is.
understand the question.
I don't
Makes no
understand
sense.
the question.
Well, I'm sorry.
All right, so Kevin, as I understand it,
Ron was looking at he was offering a compromise in order to get the 50-50.
yes, but you don't want to do.
If we could do 50-50 and give up the pilot,
So
would you
Kevin,
be in favor of it?
if I'm reading that
I think we're
right,
looking at
it'd be less for the
leaving,
county.
it
That's
would
not
be less,
compromise.
but he's talking, and I understand, I mean, he was,
The pilot.
it was a good
Give
conversation,
us the pilot,
but,
plus like.
No,
so,
But it's a
and that's
dead
why we
issue.
tabled it to act on at our next meeting.
It's
So,
a dead issue, you guys are willing to give us the pilot and 50-50. That's it.
That's what I'm seeing as the consensus of the
Yeah.
board. I'm
If you
not gonna
decide
speak-
50-50, fine, if
Whatever
it
comes
stays
to
25-75,
Right.
We're accepting of that. Yeah, so let's keep going. Next
Darren, I
item.
mean, you're asking us for input.
My opinion was leave it the way it is.
Thank you.
Let's not mess with it. Because we are, okay, let me put some numbers to it.
So he's saying leave the pilot and leave it 2575. That's
Yeah.
what Darren's
Right.
saying.
That's my opinion as a board member. Right now, the excess revenue for the year, we'll say it's 160,000. So we do a 75-25 split. The community foundation gets 120,000, county gets 40,000. Now, there's the pilot of 65,000. So our 40,000 plus the 65,000 gives us 105,000.
So we're basically 50-50 almost right now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If we
right.
do a 50-50, the 160 goes 80 to the community foundation, 80 to us,
Plus the 60.
Plus 65.
plus 65, which
Yeah.
gives us 145.
Yeah.
Now, if we do the 50-50 split, eliminate the pilot, then the pilot becomes excess revenue, rolls back into the music center fund. So instead of 160,000 excess revenue, we have 225,000 excess revenue. We do a 50-50 split on that, it's 112,500 versus 105. It's pretty much a wash. We're going through a big exercise really for nothing, so.
Yes.
Right now, my view on the pilot is it gives us every year a consistent block of money from the innkeepers, or from the music center that goes into our fund, and we can say, okay, we can count on this every year. If we go to a 50-50 without the pilots, then it's subject to just strictly excess revenue. If Music Center has a big issue that comes up, they gotta replace the roof, then all that excess revenue goes away, and there is no excess revenue.
Do we still get our pilot?
If we keep the pilot. That's why I'm
Yeah, so if the
advocating
excess
just
revenue
leaving it
goes
the
to,
way it is,
the excess
keep the
revenue
pilot.
goes to 0,
You still get 65.
we still get a 65. Why would you want to change that?
Exactly, that's my point.
Thank
Why
you
do
very
we wanna
much.
change
And
that?
furthermore, lastly, the dollar amount you're talking about is peanuts.
It's really, yeah, it's.
Who cares?
It's pretty much a wash.
Insignificant. In the grand scheme of things.
Are you using your $1 million capital fund to make the improvements that you talked about this year?
Yes.
Capital
Yes,
improvements?
but at the end of the year, that has to be replenished
That's
from.
going back to the $1 million before there's any excess revenue.
Correct. I'm just, because you talked about what if we all of a sudden put on a roof? You have a capital fund.
Right.
But that has to be replenished at the end of the year
Right.
before excess revenue. So that eliminates
Everybody
excess revenue.
understands that that capital isn't necessarily coming out of your operating, you have that capital
Right.
fund.
But
we
it has to be
truly
replenished.
transfer money from that account to our check writing account, write that check at the end of the year, then we move that money back before any excess revenue is spent.
So it does affect excess.
Yeah, and you know what? Rather than playing games with this puny amount of money, the reality of it is our focus ought to be on the financial statements with the CVB. It ought to be on the financial statements of the Maple Leaf Management, because do we as a council have a right to be able to pull the financial statements and
It's
look
all
at the financial statements of Maple Leaf Management?
It's all public.
If you need to.
Okay, I'm just,
We don't hide anything, it's,
all right.
yeah.
Okay, so we need, we as a council have direct oversight of the CVC. We as a council, because we have direct oversight of the CVC, have the right to review the financial statements annually of the Maple Leaf Management. We have a right to review the financial statements of the CVB. We have the right to ask questions. And what we're not doing is we're not paying attention. And that's where, if we're talking about continuous improvement, that's an area that we ought to be focusing in our time and energy on those conversations. To understand the financial statements, to understand where the music center is at financially. You know, how's it going? I don't know, for example, what's the occupancy? Does anyone in the county know what the total occupancy rate is?
No.
No.
So we can't answer that question, really.
You're not gonna get innkeepers to provide that information.
That's fair.
You'll have a handful that would, I'll tell you what mine is.
No, it's all right.
Good, you know, and both of my properties are run the same, but, you know, I think for the county, it's kind of.
But we could back calculate that, get a pretty good estimate.
Calculate it, but what is it truly?
I know,
Yeah.
all right.
Then you have to know,
I know.
come up with what the dollar is, what's the, then what's the.
It's about
you know,
26.
How many rooms you have, you have.
Right,
those
what's our
large
capacity,
calculations.
blah, 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 right, yeah. Well, let me ask you this, just while you're here, since the music center's been in operation from the BCI and Seasons, hopefully that helps stabilize your occupancy rate in those winter months, hopefully.
It changes our winter months.
Has it helped some? Okay.
Oh, a lot.
Has it helped a lot?
For the off times. And what's even nicer is we have these midweek shows, so it helps in that midweek.
Okay,
that
yeah,
midweek period.
yeah, okay. Yeah, because that's critical.
And probably the big thing is it hasn't changed the occupancy rate as much as it's changed the average daily rate.
Okay,
Because what we would normally charge in off-season during the week, because there are music center shows and we see far enough out, you can adjust rates based on that, so your average daily rate actually goes up.
okay,
Which is why your innkeeper's tax will increase.
okay.
Tim?
You got 2 5 opinions. I'd be interested in the opinions of other council members. You got 2, leave it alone.
About leaving it alone?
Well, you got Darren and Jim agree, leave it alone. How about the others? Like, I'm curious.
Any thoughts?
Sounds like to me it's a a wash. So if you are getting rid of the pilot, then you're actually losing money. So I think we probably need to leave
The
it alone.
question on the table is 50-50.
I know.
We're not getting rid of the pilot. The pilot is
Yeah.
fixed.
So I think we need to just kind of leave it alone.
That's 3,
I say leave it alone for the moment.
4.
I mean, as of right now, with the pilot, we're pretty much 50/50
Yeah,
with the
right.
community foundation anyway. And I like the fact that we're funding the community foundation. And, as I said in our meeting, trust issues with government, so I like this being split in 2 different funding sources. One going to the county for tax relief for the residents, because all the money that goes in here is an offsetting tax relief for the residents. And going to the community foundation, which funds needs that we as council had no business getting involved in.
Right.
But it helps the county, it helps the residents. So I mean, it's a benefit
Right.
either way.
I think the pilot, the stability of the pilot payment is important to the county.
It's fixed.
I also think, and kind of to Kevin's point, and I think we need to solidify this, but if the foundation and this quality of life group coordinate on investments, many of those go to county projects, facilities, and public safety. If those are coordinated, so in other words, if the quality of life group does more of the projects that are not public safety related, and the foundation guarantees more public safety funding, I like that. So there's a way to make that work, I think, for
Recommendation
everyone.
is forming.
So I think that needs to be solidified, that will occur, and essentially the taxpayers see the benefit of those essential projects. I mean, that's a
Which
really
goes to the
valuable-
importance of establishing a fund where this goes into, because we have that fund then, and we say, here's the dollar amount that went into that fund from the music
Put it
center.
in the general fund and
Yeah, and if excess revenues, hopefully, knock on
Well,
wood,
not a whole, yeah, a line.
grow, and excess revenues are now
Attracting.
$400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year,
Joel,
that changes the complexion, so.
no opinion?
No opinion. Staying
I
out
think
there.
And the intent. I
Oh,
mean,
come on, Joel.
We've had the discussion that, that the pilot has
Stick your
gone
neck
up,
out.
started out at 54, went to 55, now it's 65. The plan is to bring that up to a level, what would actually be received from.
I think it's good that the object is on the table for discussion. It can be adjusted in the future.
So what's your position, Gary?
I'm telling you.
What's your position, Gary?
You can talk forever and I can't talk for 30 seconds? Come on,
Some things never change.
give my background. Just saying that, I think it's good that it's a discussion, but I defer primarily to Darren because he's more involved with it as a representative.
Yeah.
So I'll go along with that.
My thought is leave it the same because
Leave
the
it like it
pilot, the
is.
pilot is a stable number that we get. It's,
Well, hopefully the revenue grows.
yeah, and the revenue grows,
Yeah.
so our portion of the excess revenue is gonna grow.
All right, what do we got next?
Status quo.
Teresa,
You weren't clear on which way you went. You would keep it
I
the
said
same.
what I had to say. I mean, I was pretty clear, I thought.
Status quo.
I was pretty clear in what I said, so.
Well, what I heard, what you said and what I heard is status
Yeah,
quo.
I don't know what you heard.
Tim,
but-
Tim, are you writing an article for the
No,
Brown
I
County
just wanna
Matters?
get what your opinions are.
Yeah, I gave my opinion. I'm not
Status
sure
quo
I have
is what I
anything else
heard.
to say. Well, I don't know what you heard.
All right, let's move on. We'll
Yeah.
see us here in-
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin, very much. All right. Teresa,
Bye, Kevin.
Dress warm.
Teresa,
shorts, please.
I
you
know.
got blanket funds.
Yeah.
May I have that cord, please?
Have you what?
May I have your cord?
How you doing, Patrick? You having fun yet?
Yeah. I love chaos.
Joel's gonna need therapy after.
I've got a fresh bottle of therapy at home
too, so.
Here you go.
Okay, this is, really small, sorry, I'm not sure how to make that bigger for you. Okay, so
You're the days.
what we have done is, we, every year.
Can you hit your mic or something? Because I can't hardly hear you.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Right now, we, every year when we, in about August to the end of the year, we redo our bonds for the county employees who actually handle cash and make deposits and disbursements. That is state regulated, it is an IC code. We, in the past, have gotten by with very low spending on those. Once we switched insurance companies and we got ourselves up to current standards, we're spending a lot more money on individual bonds than what we should. So the research shows, I've called 5 counties, not just our donut counties, and discovered that most counties do blanket bonds. I've been working with Susan Beavers and Mike Moga and discovered that we still have some research to do, but we're kind of under the wire here to get it done for this year. We currently spend about $7,000 of our insurance liability money that I keep asking for. This would reduce that cost overall. So I don't know what those figures are. The underwriter has our numbers and has given me a quote. There's still some, Susan, I don't know how to say the criminal opposed to the surety blanket. Still got to do some research there to find that out. But my request is that we start looking at this. This is going to be a council ordinance that has to be done. It's not a commissioner one, to change the way we do our bonds. I did more research and found that we have 4 categories that need that need to be individualized. Our sheriff deals with about $1 million, so his bond would be about $30,000 a year. Our treasurer, hers would be the highest, where the state maxes you out at $300,000. So our treasurer would be our highest. Our auditor would be individual, that's a state standard of $30,000, so it's $1 million. And our clerk deals with about $2 million in deposits, so she would be about $60,000 a year. So those would be the 4 individual bonds that would be set out. Now, Susan, you don't have the email, but when we talked, you see there, it's auditor, treasurer, sheriff, and clerk. The recorder, the surveyor, the coroner, and the assessor could all fall underneath the blanket bond with the rest of the populace. So that is my request. I'm not really sure where to go with all this and what questions you may have.
Are we supposed to vote on this on the 17th?
I would appreciate it if you did.
And how much does it save us, but now the aggregate bond?
Well, because of all the findings we have found in the liability insurance, I'm not sure that our costs are going to go down, but we're going to put everything in the right bucket.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So we need to
Like,
vote
for
on this on the
example,
17th?
We're insuring artwork for $250,000, and we don't have anything here that would quantify that. So that could come on. But the fact that we've been insuring Andy Bond for $30,000 a year, and she needs to be $300,000 a year, I have to wait on underwriting to give you those numbers. I don't know.
Okay.
I do know that we have taken a lot of insurance, a lot of cars off of our insurance. but that also goes into the fact that we had a lot of cars that weren't on our
Yeah, but you're
insurance.
talking about bonding versus property and
It all,
casualty.
it's all coming out of your same bucket. This is
Yeah, but
just
it's,
a
you get, those are
particular
different
part.
contracts.
Well, you're asking me dollars, I'm giving you the answer.
Yeah, but I was just asking specifically about bonding and property and casualty insurance is two separate issues. So those are two.
Yeah, I don't want to drop the coverage for
Yeah.
the art piece. I'm looking at 50,000 in art, just where I sit in this chair,
No, you're not.
out the
I've
window.
done math, I've done
They've had 'em
research, I've done
appraised.
with the art gallery.
That painting on the wall out there is probably.
I'm not talking about
Oh.
those.
I was gonna say,
But
okay.
I know we
Yeah, 'cause I
have
can
some
see-
art, but I do know that we have none of the masters.
Yeah, but that's property and
None of
casualty
what?
insurance. It's
The
not a
masters,
bond.
they're considered masters.
But all the buildings, there's a lot of valuable art, so I don't want to eliminate that. That's what, I thought I heard you say. You were gonna
She's
eliminate.
vetted it with the art gallery people.
You have. Can you talk about that more?
They came around and did a walkthrough and looked at all of our paintings and what we had, and we have
Okay.
no masters. They have all of their masters. They told me where you would be at for insurance wise if you needed to do that.
What was that number?
A couple $1 million if we had any, but we don't.
Oh, but for the art we have, what did they say?
All the art we have has been donated, so there is no replacement value for it. So if this building were to burn down, they would be gone. They are donated pieces.
If we don't cover them, yeah. Right? And we have previously covered them.
For $250,000, it's way
Yeah.
excessive.
You think it's excessive? Have you?
It could fall under furniture and fixtures, not its own category.
Anyway, I just hate
its
to
own
see all
art.
that go away and never come back if it was to burn
Well,
down.
what she's
but-
saying is it's not purchased, it's donated.
It's-
There's no replacement value.
There is no, thank you, Darren.
There is no
That doesn't mean
replacement
it's
value.
not valuable.
No, it's valuable, but there's no.
I am not by any means, let me reiterate, saying that this artwork in this building is not valuable.
Right.
Don't put that out there.
Yeah.
I am saying that it is costing us unnecessary expenses. So I am doing my job to shore it up and put it all in the right buckets.
How much is it costing us, do you know?
I'd have to get the,
Yeah.
I don't have that.
I mean, is
So,
it 50
well,
bucks?
here's
or is it-
No.
the insurance question, if we would lose the building and lose the art, are we going to get compensated from insurance for the loss of the art?
Currently.
Is there a replacement value or a purchase?
All right, Darren,
There's no
Darren,
value.
There would be no insurance payout because there was no purchase value.
Is that right?
as a licensed property and casualty agency for the last 35 years, okay? First of all, bonding is a completely separate issue because to me, bonding covers malfeasance. So if
Yes, it
you
does.
get, you get an individual that has some criminal act that creates a massive amount of liability for the county, that's when the bond steps in and tries to make us whole. This is a completely separate issue, distinct from covering this building. Because you got the, well, hang on a minute, if you got to cover the building, if you have your home covered under your homeowner's insurance, or Julia has it covered, and she has $300,000 worth of artwork, she will have to have an individual schedule for every one of those pieces of art, and that racks up the bill tremendously.
Which is why we're at $250,000.
You have to have them valued.
Yeah,
Because
so,
it's not,
right,
it was
right.
a number pulled out
Right.
of the air.
And then the problem that you get into
not
now is once you structure the policy, you better go through and read the contract. Okay?
Mhm.
And you better go by what the contract says, whether it's replacement cost or how it's just, blah, 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 blah.
Wouldn't you have to have them
You're changing a lot of
valued?
it
You'd
because
have to have somebody come in and value.
Oh, I know, yeah, which we can't, but what I hear you saying is that we've got this stuff hanging on the walls and it really doesn't have a whole lot of intrinsic value.
Correct,
And if the insurance company can prove that, okay, they're not gonna pay.
correct.
Right.
Because anybody they would ask after the walkthroughs that I have had done
Right.
with people, there is no major value.
And then if
We're
you
donated
disagree,
pieces.
now you take the
Some of
insurance
them are
company
just
to
not
court.
even- They're just pieces that somebody thought was
Right.
pretty and put on the wall.
Right.
So there's,
Which doesn't mean,
But
like you
that's
said, it
not-
doesn't mean-
I
it doesn't
really
mean they're not
don't wanna-
important. It doesn't mean they're not.
that's
Right.
really
Yeah,
the
but-
commissioner's thing. I
Yeah,
just
you can
want
donate.
Yeah, that's it, and
focus
furthermore,
on
that's
the
the
bonds.
commissioner's responsibility, so.
it's
So can we go
Diana,
back to
what value
bonds?
that.
Yeah.
Well, this is okay,
Let's do
so,
bonds. I
so you're gonna put
think
this on the agenda for 17th so we can vote and approve
Yes,
it?
Susan and I are still working on the agenda. I wanted to give you a heads up. I cannot give you a dollar amount at
That's
this time
fine.
because
Doesn't
again,
matter.
it comes out wash,
Right, whatever.
but it is a council decision.
And all you're doing is going from individual bonds to one collective umbrella.
Correct.
Got it.
And did you say we had to individually bond somebody?
Four people.
Okay,
The sheriff, the auditor, the
treasurer.
treasurer.
So they still have to be individually bonded?
Correct.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I have all the IC codes and everything
All right.
for research and
All right.
stuff.
Next.
So who is the blanket bond covering?
Anybody who deposits, transfers, disperses any of our funds.
And at this time, we
Covering
have, we
Doug,
have them,
Sandy.
I know. But at this time, we have them individually covered.
Yes.
Individually bonded.
To the
So it's gonna
tune
take
of-
everybody but those four, put them under one blanket.
Yes.
Okay.
An example of the increase would be like under Mayfield's insurance, we were paying $60 per person. Right now, we're paying $176 per person.
Okay.
So it significantly changes it.
Well, thank you for saving money.
It's
I
not gonna
hope I
save
save
money.
money. I just need to get it in the right buckets.
You're saying it's
Okay.
not gonna save money
I
necessarily.
don't know.
We don't know.
I don't
Fact
know.
is, you're getting it tightened
I'm not
up,
even gonna
better
speculate.
internal
I can,
controls.
but I can tell you with integrity that where you're spending your money and
All
what
right.
categories you're covered under will be
It'll
proper.
be proper, it'll be easier to track. That's-
Next.
Thank you.
All right, what's next? What are you having on there?
Dog tax, gas, opioid money, stuff like that.
Okay.
What about the EDC for the cars, anything of that? You said police cars are coming out of the EDC, is that
Oh,
appropriate?
okay, yes, so I want to correct, Mr. Kemp. The, police vehicles are not coming out of the general fund. Those are coming out of.
Yeah, I know. I just use that for example.
Bad example.
That's okay.
Okay, so on that subject, let's talk about that fund. Where are you guys at with your budgets and did you cut anything out of our budgets? Because we had, with the sheriff's department, we had sat down and worked on them having a budget line that they could grow on and it could go back into that budget line so they could start purchasing cars and not waste money on leasing. Did any of that change? I'm asking for the sheriff because he's ready to start looking at purchasing vehicles, so he's,
Okay, well, have Brad give me a call.
I was part of that. That is a commissioner budget. I'd like to know if you cut any money out of that budget. Didn't you approve budgets?
Yes, and
All right.
there's no.
Okay, all right. I don't know why that was a side question.
Well, because I'll tell you why.
I also have an issue here because nobody has contacted any offices to say anything about whether
Thank you.
what was gone or what's not. That's not my responsibility. That is your responsibility.
Can we get the budget by chance?
Yeah,
Really
I would
fast.
love to have,
Could the council get the budget so that we can have those conversations?
Yeah, you sure can.
Because I mean, we can't give something to someone we don't have ourselves, right?
That's pretty much true.
So let's get the budget in the council's hands so we can see it.
Well,
Seems
has it
fair.
come back from the DGLF? Because we
No,
usually,
we do not have that yet.
well, because
Yeah.
usually we don't pass out budgets. What has.
No, we're not
and-
passing out budgets. We're just handing it to you so you can go to these people and say,
But,
this is what we took out of your budget, or we didn't take anything out of your
but
budget.
usually what, in the past, what has happened is
First of all, we
this
did-
is what is approved by the DGLF and this is your budget. And that usually comes in November.
First of all, we didn't take anything out of anybody's budget that they should be aware of. All right, number one. All right, because number two, why would I have a conversation with a department head if we just approve their Form 1s as submitted? All right? So there's really no reason to get a hold of a department unless we do go in and make adjustments to their budgets. Number two, the 17th will be on the agenda that we're going to bring up the issue of what happened at the last meeting. And so we are currently working with Reedy to get clear about what the October 2nd budget book that came out, the last version, versus what was submitted in the Gateway. All right? So we will address that issue on the 17th at our regular session meeting.
thank you for that
Okay.
explanation.
So we've,
Okay, moving forward, also speaking with the sheriff's department, I don't know if you're aware that Brad absorbed Melissa Tapman's salary into the jail.
Yeah, we're aware of that.
And, well, I know you might be, but I don't know about your. And I've discovered an area that might relieve our budget using the restricted opioid money. We have not tapped into this money. This has been, the balance I'm getting ready to show you is a collective. It has been here for quite some time.
Because I always thought we were still receiving
We
money.
do, we
She
do
did
receive
not
money, the opioid money.
Yeah, we do. I got the schedule up too.
It's on a
This is very, very
reduced
slow.
basis each year.
Yes, it is.
It
And
is,
it
right.
declines a
It
little
is.
bit every year. Right now, what you're gonna see is the accumulation of quite a few years of growth. But since we are working hard to get this year's budget going on, this is your current balance in that fund. This is the restricted money. She would fall into this category, so you could relieve the sheriff's
For the year.
for the year, but this, you probably get a little bit more out of this actually, if you wanted to, because you could use for benefits and things in that too.
Can you send me an email with this?
Yes.
Teresa,
If you
the
would.
restricted portion is, what's it restricted to? Remind us.
It's very, well, it's very restricted, but it goes into mental health,
So
she
it fits.
qualifies for
Yes,
this,
it
yeah.
does. She would qualify
That's the
because she
entire
deals
purpose of
with
her
the
job.
drug.
Yes,
And so that would fit, and then if, and she's.
we were getting
probably
a
got
grant.
100,000
Can use this to buy
benefits, payroll,
opioids and give it out
equipment,
to the
stuff
community.
For her, so that would alleviate our general fund.
Yes. Now, again, it
Resell it
wouldn't
and do
relieve
it.
it every year, 100% as it could this year, but you're getting a small deposit in there every year, I think $12,000
Yeah,
is
it
scheduled for
decreases.
26. So you could,
Per year.
So
you could use some of that and then relieve it and then have it
send
still
me an
hit
email with this,
this.
yeah.
and stuff.
But this money's not being used to, I can't get free opioids through the health department?
No.
Not happening.
Just because you don't pay your dog tax.
Okay, now,
Okay, so I pay my dog tax tomorrow.
I calculated it out to, here's the graph right here. It goes out, I mean, you're at 2032 here, and you're still getting, you're getting 14,000 and 34. So you're still getting cash all the way up to 32.
Okay.
So it's gonna be around for a little
That
while.
fund's still gonna build.
Yes. Depending on how you spend it, again, it's a resource you have not tapped into that is, you could use for salary. Just wanted to point that out. And
Well,
I
we'll get
found
it
that
changed.
accidentally because
Her salary.
Her salary.
Yeah, no, yeah, we'll just pay her out of this opioid fund.
I was originally trying to figure out how to fund the Centerstone because we are required by law to pay Centerstone every year. That has historically been coming out of the Commissioner's Department 0068. It was 119, I think I had to ask for money last year, and I believe I had to ask for money this year. Next year, I finally got the numbers from them. They graciously provided us a letter. They increased it at 5%, so we need 161,000 for next year. So right now, in unrestricted opioid money, you have $161 in there that we could use towards paying this bill this year. So it's kind of, it would wipe this out.
Which bill's that? I missed what you said.
Centerstone, which we have to
Yeah,
pay.
we have to pay them every year. So, again, this would not be an ongoing solution. It could help relieve what's coming out of the Commissioner's Department, but it would be a relief for the 26 budget it would take it out of our current, what we requested.
Doesn't the health department have a lot of oversight of those funds, or?
No.
No,
Should we
none.
say this?
No,
Shouldn't
they
they
go-
have
There are
some?
I mean,
No.
both funds have restrictions
What do you mean restricted?
on how they're to be used.
Yeah.
Even as this, you couldn't pay this, but you couldn't pay Centerstone directly out of this fund. I would have to ask permission from you to transfer this money to the general fund, and then it would have to be paid that way out of it. So you can't just pay it right out of there.
Yeah, well, the only thing I'm gonna say is, my takeaway from this year is, I'm talking to the council members, is you've got all of these, you've got, all 30, let's say you get 30 departments, you have all these various funds, we have all of these line items, we're having this conversation right now. And the challenge with it is we can work on trying to do the best we can to determine the appropriations for the following year's budget. The challenge is how many people's fingers are playing around with the data. All right? So we can't have multiple people from multiple areas going into the system and changing numbers. Because when you got that happening, and people making decisions and moving this from, well.
Who's doing that?
Yeah, who's doing that?
We can't do that.
So,
She can't do that.
well, you're bringing up proposals for changes,
Yes.
right? Which is great. But these changes, they need to go to Reedy, right? Because we've hired and we're paying Reedy money to oversee our budget, correct?
Okay.
Okay. So any proposed changes that we're going to make, we need to keep them comprised so that we can accurately track the data.
That's on you, not me.
Well,
I'm just bringing this up to you.
well, I know, and I'm bringing this back so that any proposed changes, because you're going in and you're doing your job, and that's great, right? But we need to, get a policy in place, of kind of a process that we follow, so that everybody's on the same page and we're not,
Yes, let's all be on the same page because we're
Julie?
doing so good.
Don't stop. Don't even start. Okay? Please don't start. We'll address it on the 17th. All right?
You're dang right we will.
Yeah, we certainly will. So I do not appreciate what you did to us on that last meeting. Okay?
This is my time, please.
Yeah. So go ahead,
Thank you.
Teresa.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is my proposal to help relieve. It would help our commissioner fund, and it would also ultimately help you guys, and it would help the sheriff's department because you were trying to find funds for him.
And can you
So-
send us send all the council members an email with your request, what your proposal is, with the appropriate attachments, so that we all have that.
Okay.
And then we can work on figuring out what we need to do to get it implemented.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know your time schedule. I don't know your job, so I don't know when you have to know those things. That's why I'm bringing it up. I'm sorry it's late.
No,
today,
that's
but
all
this
right.
is
But
what
get it to me if you can get it to me fairly quick, and then that way we can get work on what we need to do to get it implemented.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you one thing right now. You are not the auditor, and you need to stop acting like it.
Julie,
Hey,
Julie,
Back down.
No, I'm not.
Well, you
Jim?
better.
No, I'm not.
drop it.
No, I'm not. Julie, I'm not going to back
Joel.
down. Okay. The auditor does not control the council.
I'm not trying to control
Okay,
you,
the
but you're
auditor-
trying to
together.
control me,
No.
and that's not going to
Children.
happen. I'm done with it.
Well, I don't care whether you're done with it or not,
Working
Julie.
this together. We got
Okay.
rough edges, there's no question about
Right.
that. So we'll get them straightened out.
But I can't tolerate the errors
That's
anymore in
fine.
your office.
There's a lot of people can't tolerate a lot of things from each
The-
other.
I'm sorry, the what?
Errors.
Huh. You're part of the
And
errors.
if you want to start slinging
All
mud,
right,
we
we're
can start
gonna
slinging
straighten
mud.
those out.
Yeah, so
We'll
anyway.
discuss 26 is gonna be a total review of the whole.
And I'm not going to
situation.
allow you to bully me.
That's right. We're not gonna bully anybody. We're gonna be nice to each other.
Okay, I gave
It's
you
Teresa's
paperwork, I gave you paperwork at your last meeting to review so that you could make a decision for me on your next meeting. I wanted to come to this meeting to request your questions and to do any explaining that needed to be done and to let you know on some other cash that I found that we don't need, so. Did any of you happen to bring?
Is this what you're referring to?
Did anybody else bring theirs? I put it up on the board so that you can see it, because I kind of figured I wasn't gonna make another 100 copies of this.
Got it.
So, obviously, cleaning has been on a big thing for us. We do not have enough money appropriated for the cleaning.
This should not be brand new information for anyone. Everybody knew that we under budgeted this for 25. So this is my audit for our last quarter of the year, what we need to finish out the cleaning contract. So that is what that is. Any questions on that or concerns?
No.
Now, this is the lovely liability insurance that I'm not going to go into the weeds with again. This is, again, shouldn't be a surprise for you guys. I had to ask for, I believe, $63,000 last year to finish the year. Again, we knew that 25 was going to be a shortfall for us. This is everything. I have audited Bliss McKnight. I have audited our insurance agent, which the name, I can't think of the name, it just escapes me.
Alicia?
Thank you, Alicia Greedy. I have audited all those numbers. I have went through and found out what they are invoicing us up to 12/31 of this year. So this 83,000 is only like a $2,000 cushion there because it was like 82 and some cash. So that is why this number is here. I will tell you that in diving into the insurance, we have discovered that I just got a bill that I wasn't expecting for $20,000 for the 4-H fairgrounds because we cover their liability on a state. So we're still learning in our office what all that liability insurance coverage is and what all those avenues are. Not really sure that I agree with everything the county is paying out to all the different entities, but that's above my pay grade. So that's where this $83,000 request is coming from. That will get us to the end of the year. Hopefully with our audit, they are taking stuff off our insurance, so it will in the first quarter of 26, which is the third quarter of this payment, because it goes half year to half year. We should start seeing some reflection for next year, but I won't know those numbers until everything comes out in the wash. Okay, gas and oil, I requested 26,000. Another audit that we performed with the highway department, Sandra Poole, I have to give kudos for this. We couldn't figure out why commissioners were constantly falling short on the fuel. We discovered that it was simply a depositing issue. So Sandra gets all the fuel down there. She bills for diesel, she bills for gas, and the commissioners pay for all the gas in the county. When she was billing all of those entities, they were paying her bills for the gas that they used, but it was getting deposited back into the highway fund, not relieving the commissioner's budget. So I do have another transfer request that I am asking the commissioners to do, or not, the council, is to move from 1176, the highway money, 47,000 to the commissioner's line to relieve the fuel. So I will not need this $26,000. So.
It's all legal, we can.
Yes, it's all legal. It is strictly
because it's a
a
reimbursement.
Yes, we were depositing it incorrectly.
So I raised this question in our budget sessions about the increase in the gas. And, there was an increase in the request from the commissioner's gas line for 26.
That's what, yes.
And 2026. And so I'm wondering if we need to reduce that now?
We will need to reduce that because this will, yes, now that we know the deposits are being done wrong, so basically everybody's been paying for gas and the commissioners haven't been being reimbursed for it. That's why we were falling so short. That in a
Okay, so we need
nutshell, that's
to
what it
reduce
is.
that budget in the commissioner's gym. The gas budget was, and I questioned this at the time, and we've
We
learned
approved
since
it,
this
yeah.
wasn't correct, and so we need to decrease that. It's like 26K or something, 25K, and we can fold back into for savings to reduce our structural deficit.
Yeah, I've got gas, oil, and
We're up to
lube.
65, I think.
I got gas, oil, and lube. It's line item, it looks like it's line item 22,100.
Yeah, I requested 237.
237 grand, right?
And it went up, I forget how much
Is
it was.
in that
40K,
number?
Whatever it
So
was, but
keep in mind that the only people that are paying their fuel bill that we would be reimbursed for is the town of Nashville, the Nashville Police Department, the Health Department. I think that's it. So
Isn't
it's not
public
like,
Whoa.
it's not like I'm gonna get tons of funds back, but I will get some.
The town of Nashville fills up at the highway department?
Yes.
Huh?
Well, they pay us.
They have
They pay us back, but yes.
Yeah, you pay us back. How do we track what?
They have a way
No,
of
that
tracking.
Yeah.
it's a
have
beautiful
numbers
system.
on
I'm
the
telling you,
pump.
she's got it under control over there and if.
So we're not getting ripped off?
We're not getting.
No,
No, they got numbers on the pump. that
No,
they-
she goes
Certain
through,
codes of
everybody
everything,
has
how many
cards.
gallons and everything.
Yes.
It's
So they know
tracked.
how much.
It is
goes
all
to
audited
them.
monthly.
Well, you know what, we buy all our fuel off of Premier Ag is what I've been told.
Yes.
And what I've never seen is I'd like to know over the last 5 years, how many thousands of gallons of diesel fuel did we buy annually and how many thousands of gallons of gasoline?
Sandra Poole has all those numbers, so if you have any questions about
Does she
it,
have the-
she has a beautiful
Does she
system over
really?
there, and I encourage you to go.
So
over
I
there
could go
and
back
see
the
her.
last 5
Yes.
years and just see what the
Well,
total.
she's only been there for a year and a half, so she can't
Yeah,
be
but
held
Premier-
accountable for anybody else, but I can tell you the other, Megan was over there, Perlita was over there.
Right, right. But my
Everything
point
is
is with this, is forecasting what the expenses are gonna be from one year to the next ought to be based on the total gallons used for the previous year's average.
Yes,
Because all you gotta do is then just simply estimate what fuel costs are gonna be for 2026,
Correct.
and that tells you how much money you gotta have.
right, again, not, I just want my money back.
Yeah, I know, I do too. Yeah, I don't want,
Yeah, so,
right.
yes, I encourage you to speak with her, because she's got it under control.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll get a hold of her.
So that 26,000 right there in that line item, if you allow me to transfer the 47, I have to advertise it, this is brand new information.
Okay, wait a minute. Hang on, let me get back to, so you're talking about 22,100 gas, oil and lube. We budgeted for 26, 237,000. Correct? And what are you asking for?
I am asking for the $47,000 that is trapped in the highway fund 1176
Oh, highway
to be
fund.
transferred to the commissioners 0068.
0068.
That's the commissioners department.
That's their
So
location.
you're taking money out of the highway department and flipping it over to the
Yes,
council?
because my money has been deposited over there with the money that way I don't have to ask you guys for money for this account line.
It's going to the wrong
You
place.
will put that on a.
Right, but
appropriation
I'm missing
request.
Yeah,
line,
no,
it
this
should
is
be
again
going
brand
from
new.
line item to line item.
It's not, it's a fund to fund, that's why it has to be advertised.
Here's what, Jim, here's what happened. You have been paying for gas, and there is a refund coming from the gas company, but it's been going to your neighbor. So what she's saying is, can your neighbor give you the check?
What I'm missing is I didn't hear, you're pulling money out. What fund is the money coming out of from the highway department?
1176.
1176.
Right.
Okay. And then you're proposing we transfer X amount of dollars out of 1176 in the highway department to what fund in the commissioners? General?
Yes, it would be
To
the
their-
general.
Okay,
Yes,
all right, that's all, I was unclear.
Here's all the numbers, if
1,000.
you want to see.
I
the
was
numbers.
unclear on that.
This is an example of what she had for September, everybody that she billed and what they billed us
All right,
back.
all right, all right.
So gentlemen, to add a third thing, because the gas budget for next year was overestimated due to this.
So
crossing
237 was
lines,
overestimated?
Yes,
By how much?
We need to reduce that for next year, or else we're just padding.
I don't know yet because it's not everybody, it's not all the fuel, it's just a few, so this is brand new for me.
All right, all right.
Just
all right,
getting
all right,
it,
all
I
right,
don't
all right,
know what that
All right.
savings is, but it will be there.
And we can't reduce that until after we get our 1782, correct?
1780, we already got 1782. You were talking about the final budget, right?
No, that is the 17.
That is 1782.
Okay, moving on, the next item,
More
litigation.
than they need.
Right,
I
but
have
it's-
requested 20,000 for that.
It's more than they need.
I have two bills that I can't even process unless somebody gives me permission to write ready.
No.
They have called me and asked me for payment. So that is why
again. What's happening?
I have two bills for litigation that I cannot pay. I don't have the money to pay them. That is why that is on there. This is an additional appropriation to that line.
Yeah, you got 20 grand down
I do
here.
not have permission to write ready, therefore, I I am not paying a bill, I am late.
Was the litigation tied to?
Employee issues.
Susan, these requests that Teresa's requiring, do you have to draft an ordinance for us to pass with all this in there to change, make these recommended
No.
changes?
Not an ordinance, it's an
It's an additional
appropriation.
appropriation.
Yeah,
So Julie's going to advertise it,
it's been advertised.
and then we'll
Advertise
have
it.
an additional appropriation to bring to your meeting.
So you can pass it on the 17th.
That's why we did it, so we're not scrambling at the end of the year.
Right. But I guess my question is, so you've advertised this,
We've done all the proper forms. yes.
okay, and then this shows on the docket for the 17th
Mhm.
in the form of an ordinance or just a resolution?
Additional appropriation.
It's just
It's just an additional appropriation.
So, but it would
Okay,
And
whatever.
then next year you don't even have to actually.
I mean, if we owe it, we owe it, you gotta pay it.
You gotta pay it,
Yeah,
'cause
okay.
I don't have. any
Yeah, the only thing,
idea.
and then the only other, all right, go ahead, sorry.
I've moved money around in our budget.
Yeah,
That's
whatever.
another thing I'll show you. Okay. Multi-factor ID, this is, we had the $7,800 right there. This was monies that we wanted rolled over from 24 into 25 that never got moved. So we need that to pay out our current bills for our IT department. That is what those are. Publications, again, new discovery for us. I did not realize that the commissioner's office was responsible for everybody's advertising. And advertising has went up. I know, Julietta, please educate me because I don't understand it either. Everybody's got line items, but why we're paying it, I don't know.
Plan Commission has their own.
We are currently, I don't have the money to pay several bills with them right now. Again, they are calling me for payment and I will be writing red ink if I process those claims. So again, this to me is one that should be able to be done pretty quickly because it's, again, money that we knew we were gonna need in 24. We told everybody we needed it moved in 25 and it never happened.
So can we get this split out to whose office is what, and then maybe?
It's all in the paperwork I gave you all,
Okay,
that
good.
itemized thing.
We haven't been double publishing. have we?
Hey, Teresa,
No.
could you have paid all this and just wrote red ink?
Yes. But I was told not to write red ink.
Who told you not to write red ink?
I did. They did.
Okay, because we haven't paid Reedy for the last 5 months either, is what I was told recently. So we've got 5 months worth of invoices we've
I'll
not
check
paid,
that out because I just.
that we've not paid. So, and then the other thing, this is just your department. This is
These are
just
the
your-
commissioner's funds.
This is just the commissioners. Right.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so my next line item on here is Centerstone. I told you that we knew that we under budgeted Centerstone for 25.
Yep.
I need $5,000 to finish out the bill for the year. And Susan, if it changes where, like if they give me permission to take Centerstone money out of the unrestricted, is that okay? I mean, could they give me permission to take it out of this rather than just make it a transfer rather than an additional appropriation?
I mean, because the unrestricted funds sit in their own fund, it would be an additional appropriation. It's just an additional appropriation out of the unrestricted fund
Okay.
instead of out of general fund.
Okay, so that's an option. You all understood what she just said. And IT engineering, this is another one where we had funds set aside and unspent in 24 that we needed to be transferred to 25 so that we could pay all of the invoices for this year. That is. And I gave you, again, all of, this is the form we fill out, this is all of the, I tried to write what all of that was, so.
Already been.
So on that note, I also gave you guys just to let you know what we were doing. I gave you we have transfers that we just need to be done within the funds. My question to you is, on the bottom of that form, it has a place for your office to fill out whether or not it's approved or when it happens. Will I get those forms back? Because okay. That would help me answer my commissioners. Okay.
So the total there in overspending and commissioner's budget is 148.
148 with that 26,000 still in there, so I would subtract that.
126 over, plus the other two, 160 each, kind of transfers out of the opioid fund were discussed earlier, right, for sheriff's jail service coordinator and
Well, this is 25 numbers that I'm dealing with here.
25.
What I proposed with the opioid is 26
No,
numbers.
26. My point is, Jim, 400,000 floating around here, let's get in front of Reedy and make sure it makes sense to them, and we shouldn't be transferring money in different ways to different funds
Right.
in a more effective way.
Right.
Like, this is a great way to put them to work, you know, because, I mean, you identified two places we could put the 360,000 out of opioids, but that doesn't mean those are the only two places where it's needed to offset property tax funded items, et cetera. And so I want to make sure we're capitalizing on the expertise of Reedy.
Teresa, have you had any conversations with Jerry Hickman and or Reagan?
I did not know that I had permission to speak with them, so now I have one.
Let's put it in front of that, because I mean.
Yeah, I'm going
and
to.
I'm not saying
I'm going to bring
those
them
are-
in.
I mean,
Yeah.
Let's
yeah,
just,
'cause
it's
they
too
need
much
to be-
money to
Right,
just
I know.
randomly
Right,
select where
right,
it goes
right,
and where
right.
it
My
comes from.
My concern for the whole county is basically data integrity. Bottom line, it's, the challenge with the data integrity is the more people, you got people's fingers in this thing making changes,
Again, let me reiterate.
it's hard.
I
It's,
do not have permission to make changes. I am just saying this.
no, I
is
know,
what I'm saying.
but you're proposing changes,
Yes.
right?
I
And-
will do that
Well, you're-
always.
Right, okay, but keep in mind, when you asked me earlier last week when we had a meeting about, whether or not I had a time to review, you looked at this, and I told you, no, I did not take time, right? Because, to be honest with you, you start going through this, your eyes starts glassing over.
Yeah, but that's what
Okay.
you're elected to do.
I understand that, but that takes, time on my end to really sit down, cross-reference, make sure it's
That's why I
accurate.
gave it to you months in advance.
And I'm sitting in here basically trying to play forensic auditing, to make sure, and it's very difficult. It's
Well,
very,
at some
so
point you have to
it,
trust us too. and
no,
you know
yeah,
that.
but I think let me just say this, can we all not agree that there are ways for all of us to improve going forward?
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
So when we have conversations, instead of tempers and passions getting out of control, if we could all simply just, let's agree that it's a work in progress, right? How do we improve? And just start framing it in a continuous improvement. Because I think one of the challenges is that each and everybody here wants to help, right?
Yes.
Okay, and when somebody calls you and says, hey, what do you think I should do? That makes you feel good, right? So we all want to help, we all want to contribute. But the challenge is it's the vast amount of information. I mean, you got 30 departments, you got all these freaking funds, these line items and all this stuff, and it's really hard to track. So it's that flow of information, who does what, how do we, what should it go, because you're over here going, I didn't know I had approval to talk to Reedy. Why would you not have approval to talk to Reedy?
Because it's council's.
Well,
It's
see,
council
so it gets back to,
Assumption. Just an assumption.
well,
Yeah.
right, it gets, so we need, the council needs to improve that, right?
Great.
Yeah.
A lot of internal controls, the SBOA audits.
All right, but we haven't
And we're-
done anything,
we're
Gary.
prioritizing that.
We have to get it done. We
We are.
can't sit
We are.
here and talk and talk and talk and
It would
talk
be
and
nice to
talk.
have been able to talk with you with absolute facts rather than.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah, and all I'm gonna ask going forward, I've got another year on my tour duty, all right? So, and if they all want me to continue to, if they want somebody
No.
else, you wanna take it, go for it. And Joel, step in and handle it.
Okay.
Joel.
I have
Then,
one more.
then we're gonna have to work
Don't
on,
like it.
find our processes and make sure, who do you contact for this, blah, 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 blah. So that chain of communication is in place and, we're all on the same page.
Well, and Teresa's,
And what happens when the chain gets screwed up is what happened with Reedy.
Well, then we need to step in and fix it.
That's what
Because
we're in the
to me,
process of doing.
well, yeah, and Julie, Because what I'm doing right now, on the 17th of the month, you know, I picked up the phone and had a lengthy conversation. Because I don't know what happened, okay, and why we had to experience what we experienced Monday, but I don't want that to happen ever again.
Not a good
thing. It was not a good experience at all. Okay, so what can we do going forward, and what happened, and where was the disconnect?
I think
So,
Reedy needs to work with me.
well, then let's address that issue. Well, then let's address that issue, and what's that look like? But because
Come to our finance committee meeting.
well, or no, why don't we? Because what I take away now is what we probably ought to do is we'll set up a meeting with Teresa Gobian, you, me, and Jerry Hickman,
That sounds
Probably a
good.
good idea.
and have the four of us sit down and discuss this. And where do we need to
I'm very
improve?
into that.
How do we improve it?
I would also learn a lot about all of this too,
Teresa's into it.
because I.
All right, so let me
I'm still
work.
learning.
Yeah, I've got a meeting next week with Hickman, but just going forward, continuous improvement. How you know, we're going to have disagreements. We're going to have temper
You've always
flares.
had it.
We always have had. That's going to happen. You throw a temper tantrum, you get over it, and then you come back and go, okay, how do we move forward, and how do we make sure this doesn't happen going forward? But which gets back to Gary, that we've got to start writing this stuff up, right, and documenting it. But then Scott and I talked about, it's one thing for us to write it up and document it, but if we don't ever pay attention to it, to where we go back and go, okay, what did we decide we were going to do? You with me? If we don't pay attention to it and follow it, then why even create it?
I have questions before y'all leave on your next meeting schedule for next year.
You give me that cough, I'm gonna kill you.
Me too. You got it.
You need a donation for a new lawn or something? You need a new donation for a new
Yeah,
lawn?
I could have cancer and not even know
On
it.
some of your work sessions, I want to know if you want to change some of these work sessions so that you can vote during
Inherently vote.
them. Susan, you got an opinion?
That's up to you all. If you wanna have 2 regular meetings.
Yeah.
In your month, I think that's the question that Julie is asking. Do
That's
you wanna
pretty
have
much-
2
Well, let me
regular
ask,
meetings?
let me ask the council this. I personally operate off of I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it.
Yeah.
So what your
What
floating
we
is,
want to know is, do we want to change these to actually regular?
or we could if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Because if we wanted to, because what we're addressing is you got a quadrant 1 problem. You got a major fire, needs a vote now, we need to address it.
Correct.
And if we have the ability to do that,
That's right. And
then
if it's
that would be
already
good.
advertised and we don't have to worry about.
Then why
the
wouldn't we
advertising.
just default to having, or we can have the liberty, we don't have to, but, right?
We already have that. What we set them up this year was that we
They were
would have
work
a regu-
sessions.
These would be work sessions, and it would not be typical to
vote.
take an action or a vote.
I know.
In the work session meeting, unless we had to, and if we had to, we would make sure to advertise that.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. I don't
So
think,
what you're asking,
okay.
what you're asking is, instead of having to, at the last minute, advertise it as taking an action, just advertise all of them for next year as we may take action in votes at the work
Correct.
session meetings.
We have the option.
Any downside to that?
I mean, it's just the public notice.
Yeah,
You know, I
that's
don't
it.
like the idea of things appearing on the agenda in a
Yeah.
work session that were not previously posted and voted on. If they are significant and important. If it's minuscule operational, you know, that's one thing. But if it's a significant item that we think the public would like to speak to or address, I don't like those things.
Yeah,
So,
I'd prefer to keep it the way we have it now for the sake of transparency.
yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
That's how it is. This is
Okay,
how
can
last
I,
year's-
can
I
I
mean, for the
put,
sake of transparency, if we're gonna vote on something, it should be at our regular monthly meeting.
And to Jim's prior point, we've already got a policy on this, and we said work sessions are for discussion, not
No voting.
vote.
But we have.
already got a
voted on
policy.
number of them.
all right, can I ask?
You've already
But we
voted
did
in a number
make
of
an
them.
exception that we could take votes on an individual basis if an emergency.
Right, I think we should, in
I
the
think
interest of the
we had to do
county
that, what,
in
once or
general,
twice?
but
Darren, what has to happen? Julie, what do you have to do? Susan, what has to happen? All right, when we have a
You
special,
gotta have 48 hours notice. put
so
in
then
the
that
paper.
throws the pressure on you. So if we got a special session meeting coming in on Thursday, all of a sudden, something on Friday rears its ugly head, and now we gotta put out a fire on Thursday, which is gonna require a vote, that requires you to do what?
48 hours notice, before you can vote.
Before you can vote.
Yeah.
So if
So,
we've got some, these work session meetings are kind of bonus meetings, so we're not spending 6 hours at a regular meeting, just let us hash things out. If we have some emergency that comes up like that anyway, we'd have to call a special
Let's talk about an
session.
emergency right now, because we gotta deal with vote centers. It's
We-
not an emergency, but let's skip, Gary, go
There's an
ahead.
assumption that, it was on the agenda for our last official meeting on Monday, and I was told that, well, the council did not have to be involved in approving the new voting centers. Then I was told afterwards, yes, we do need to be involved, we need to take a vote on it. So it's on the agenda today to take a
But
vote.
we haven't advertised for you to be able to take a vote for today.
so there's an example.
So let's kick it to
This is a very
Susan.
good
Good
example
example,
right here.
Susan, so catch us up here, because we've already passed one, this was two months ago, we were asked by chair of the vote of the election board, Mark Williams, to take a position or an action on vote centers. We did that, I thought.
Yeah, that was to support them going forward with that.
Yeah, and we,
Would you like me to call the clerk?
well, I mean, yeah.
Because I think there's a timeline here.
And so we need to know what we passed.
Yes, this could be that.
And Julie, would you ask your staff to pull that, what we passed
Okay,
up,
you're-
so we can see it?
She didn't-
Because maybe we've already completed what she needs, but if we haven't, we need to know.
No, I don't know where well, I've only got one staff member that knows anything that's going on down there, because Sandy had to go to a doctor today. So.
Okay, I have one
Can
more
we
thing.
adjourn, maybe we need to go pull that?
I have
Let's
one,
go pull what we passed in our last.
I have one more thing on mine. Are you, it's a dog tax, so we have to, Susan and I are working on your dog tax ordinance. If you're going to eliminate that tax.
Yeah.
Before starting January 1, you have to do the work now. And
Let's do the work now.
so, thank you. We have one drafted, Susan.
We can't vote on it now, let's put it on the agenda for our next meeting and deal with it then.
17.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and she still
Wait, you
has to
said you
do.
only had one. Oh,
It
go ahead.
is all the same topic, Marty. She still has to do the distribution this year, so we have $30,000 that we do to the Humane Society, and some of that money has been going to the Humane Society out of the dog tax. It hasn't been distributed as your ordinance currently states, which is going to produce tension. So that needs to be looked at by you all. I don't know what information you want
Yes.
to.
Do we have to disperse by the end of the year?
Okay, hang on a minute. I got Perlita on the phone over here.
Oh, okay, good.
So what do you want me to do?
Go back to your voting centers and I'll wait.
Well, here.
Find out what date.
Hey, Perlita. You're on the speakerphone.
Okay, I promise not to say bad words.
All right.
Perlita, that it's, Scott, the council passed, I believe, something 2 months ago upon being presented something by Mark Williams. It was an ordinance or a letter of some kind, and we passed it, I believe.
Hold on, I'm digging for it on my desk.
Okay.
I'll tell you exactly what it was. Oh, for the love of Pete, if you could see my desk.
I know what mine looks like.
It says Council Bill Order Number 5, Resolution Number 2025-00421-001.
Okay.
That looked like it was recorded on 4/22. Oh, that's right, it's the son's birthday. 2025.
Okay, Susan.
What was it?
What was it
Go ahead and
for?
read it to us if you can.
What was the title?
It says a resolution approving the designation of Brown County as a vote center county. whereas Indiana Code 3-11-18.1 allows counties to adopt a vote center model, and whereas the County Council of Brown County approves the designation of Brown County as a vote center county, and whereas the county election board has the responsibility for properly drafting a vote center plan for Brown County, which plan will affect upon unanimous vote of the Brown County Election Board and proper filing of the plan with the Indiana Election Division.
Sounds like they affect it finally, Susan. What do you think?
Right. Well, I can tell you that when Mark Williams gave me this, since it said resolution at the top and all 7 signatures were on it, I sent it to the IED, which is the Indiana Election Division, and they're using it, so we're good. I don't need anything else from you.
Awesome.
Susan, do you agree?
I do. I prepared that earlier this
Good.
year. It's the election board that has to approve it and get the plan approved by the state, and that's Perlita's job, and I think the election board has done that.
Yeah, the election board, after the election board does that, though, we don't have any further.
Here, let's do this. Perlita, read the last.
vote to approve that.
Correct.
Perlita, read
There's
the love
rules
of
for
God.
everybody. but
Yeah.
when the council
Read the last what?
last sentence one more time, because I think that. Go ahead.
Solidifies it.
Well, okay. There was more after that last
Oh.
sentence. It says, now be it resolved by the Brown County Council of the County of Brown, which you guys might want to watch your typos because I had to scratch out Jackson and write Brown in. That Brown County is approved to operate as a vote center county on the required approval and filing of the Brown County Vote Center Plan. This resolution shall be effective and in full force from and after its passage as by law provided.
Okay.
So you've passed your portion of what you need to do in order for Brown County to be a vote center county.
There's no final order?
And then page 2 says, adopted by the Brown County Council this 21st day of April 2025. And it has all of your signatures plus Julie's.
Perlita, our attorney is advising us that we have executed our portion as needed to execute the vote centers.
Perfect. I agree and concur.
Okay, this matter's now closed.
All right, thank you, bye.
Meeting adjourned. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Perlita.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You need transfer approval for the 30K, knowing, need to know where.
Well,
things
we already
go.
have that in our budget to spend. I don't know, you were there, Paul, right?
Who?
Patrick,
I need what?
you were there with the Humane Society and.
Yes, I was at that meeting. That was already agreed to
up
give them a
that-
portion of last year's.
Right, so they requested 35,000 a year instead of 30. I don't know where you guys are with that.
I think we approved
And
that.
that was already, I think we approved that. That was brought up before
I
the,
think we approved it too.
yeah, I think that was brought up here and we approved that.
Budgeted for it, I should say.
Budgeted, yes.
Okay, so, so then for the auditor's sake, the funds that are in the dog tax right now will go to the proper way of Purdue Extension.
Oh, wait a second.
That's
What do you mean the proper
current-
way?
The current ordinance has you guys paying Purdue Extension out of those funds, not the Humane Society.
I think we need to revisit that,
Okay.
especially if
Again,
positions
you
haven't
have
been
2
filled.
months. You have November and December. If you're going to do away with this and do a new ordinance for January 1, this needs to be on the front burner.
Yeah, we're not gonna do a dog tax anymore, right?
Correct.
That's the,
That's the ordinance that we're working on right now.
The ordinance is
So
good.
eliminated.
That's what you talked about before.
I thought you guys said you were gonna charge $100 a dog.
Right.
$75
That's
a
one
cat.
question, and you're working on the ordinance, you'll get that to us at our next meeting, but the other piece that you're talking about is where does the residual funding
Funds go.
go?
Mhm.
And I don't think we should predetermine it goes to Purdue Extension.
It is
It's already
currently in the
goes to an
ordinance that
ordinance.
it goes.
It
We
has
already have an
been for
ordinance.
years.
We already have an ordinance.
We have
for
not
it.
been following the ordinance.
Oh, no.
There's an
So-
ordinance.
Well, okay, let me say this. If it's going to Purdue Extension, we should reduce our budget allocation wherever it's coming from elsewhere from current sources. Does that make sense?
Would this be something I could talk to Rudy about too?
Yeah.
Or do-
Yes,
permission?
yes,
Or-
yes.
So let's alleviate 30K somewhere else and use this instead of tax
And we
funds
all
to
get
fund
together
Purdue
and talk
Extension.
I think we should put it in the opioid
Something
fund.
else I need to know about too.
Yes.
Okay, you got
So we get more drugs.
430,000.
We need to sell some. We need to sell our
Thank you.
opioid.
By the way, real quick,
Raise some
Teresa
money.
is bringing up multiple issues from multiple departments, very complicated sources. She is not to be shot as the messenger. She is to be thanked and appreciated, and she's raising issues that if these were not raised, would become much bigger problems down the road. So thank you. We need to make
Only
sure.
other thing on the agenda was encumbrances over 2026, came up at our last meeting on Monday. We discussed, it just briefly said, we should have high scrutiny by council. My voice is dying.
Yeah, this is for carryover funds. Teresa, go ahead.
Well, okay, so I have questions about this because I don't understand that because we did away with them when I came on board with the county. So you approved in your last meeting to allow encumbering of funds.
Yes, they did.
Well, we
Now-
said we were inclined to do that and would discuss it in this work session and approve it with formal policy at
So
our
my
next
question
regular
is,
meeting.
are you, if you pass this in November, are you allowing us to do this for 26? Question one, because that's gonna make a big difference on all of our budgets and what we've all worked on.
You mean for at the end of 26
No.
or at the end of 25?
End of
At the end of
25.
25.
Because we have a lot of funds where we've already realized that we needed to encumber money, and our go-around of that was to carry over. Like what I brought up in mine, saying that we asked for funds from 24 to be moved to 25, that's basically what encumbering is.
Mhm.
So we already have some of those that we know we need. How are we as your people?
You encumber the money to pay for a specific bill.
I get that, but right now we're calling it carry forward. Are we gonna have a form to fill out?
Yes,
Are we gonna
let's do
have?
this. Let's
Do we
do
have to have
this.
permission from the council
You've
to
already
do that?
you've already got a meeting with Reedy to discuss several $100,000 in transfers. This is right in line with that same discussion. There are other transfers that you could or may not want to do that may benefit the county's budgeting process that need to be discussed with Reedy and.
The sheriff's cars are gonna be huge,
Yeah,
because that's money
those are-
that
that's
he
the
wants to
same-
build every year.
Same
so
kind of
that-
discussion, and so let's add that to the list. And Jim, we need you to dig in here with Julie and Jerry, because we've got $500,000 plus in the play right now. Transfers going all over the place.
Our budget is banking on carryovers.
We'll get it resolved.
Okay, Jim's gonna help.
I have one last question.
Thank you, Teresa.
Where are we on the salary ordinance, Susan?
I was working on it actually this morning before I came here. I was hoping to have it done so that you could take a draft with you right now, and I did not get
That's
that.
fine.
So I want to get it to you next week so that you can have time to look at it and tell me if there are errors.
Okay.
Say next week?
Yes,
But we
before our
could
meeting?
pass it in December, could we not?
you, absolutely. Most people do pass in December.
Let's pass, what do you guys think? Let's pass it in December.
If it is
Yeah.
completely and thoroughly reviewed and accurate.
Right, well, that gives us enough time to review it.
Yep.
Correct.
Let's
And
actually
again, if there's
review
any changes,
Yeah.
it gives you enough time to make the
Yeah,
changes.
let's actually review it.
So let's just, we'll put, that goes, Gary, on the agenda, December.
Let's review it as if we're trying to pass it in November.
That's fine, I just don't want to throw.
No, let me finish my thought.
No!
Fight me.
You guys talk too much on those cigarette breaks.
Yeah.
Let's review it like we're trying to pass it in November.
That's fine.
That way,
Let's mark it up in
when we
November.
have the emergency come up in our November meeting and say, oh crap, we can't pass it now, we still have.
Let's, in other words, let's do a
I
November
also want to
markup.
point out a disconnect that I just learned. So the Humane Society's money comes out of our budget, being the commissioners.
Right,
And if you guys passed and agreed to pay them $35,000 a year rather than 30, you raised it, there was no communication back to the commissioner's office that would increase in our budget.
Well, we budgeted it
So
for
what is that
35.
disconnect? How could we fix that?
We
Alright.
budgeted it
yeah,
for
we're gonna,
35.
okay.
Because
Yeah.
if we're paying for it, we didn't know that you.
Yeah, and
you
furthermore,
approved an
as we
increase.
go forward, trying to,
Actually put in the budget.
But again,
Hey.
I
it's
know,
our
I-
budget, so why would we not?
Teresa, Julie, County Council, as we go forward, trying to wrap up 25, can we start working on 26, 27. What I'd like to see us do, Julie, Teresa, council, is let's look at 26. Let's map out January through December with specific deadlines. So, and then let's address this so that we can stay on top of it and we're okay. And we can got a process to follow so that 26, 27 is a piece of cake.
I can tell you that I did appreciate the timelines that you had this year, and it did feel a lot more comfortable
Okay.
trying to figure out. But like if you could back it up even a month, that would be even better.
Okay, well, and then the other, and also too, what do we need to do to improve it?
That's a long list, Jim.
Well,
Long
then you
list.
start writing
Really
it
long.
out.
Actually,
What do we need to do to improve
we
it?
had it in when we were supposed to have it in.
Right, but let's,
It was, everything was going pretty smoothly.
yeah, but Scott's brought it up and you brought it up of the individual meetings with the individual departments.
Gary, I move we
We're
adjourn.
gonna do that, how do we do it?
I got to ride along with the sheriff's department. Is that-
Oh, really?
Second.
Thank you, guys.
Motion to leave.
Does anybody want
Ride
to
along
donate
how everyone
anything
do in
to
life.
the employee
I've done one
Christmas
before,
party?
but I was in that beta
That's
leadership.
one
You
thing.
know,
And
it's
then
nice
the other
of
is you
Board
all
for
have to do
Sheriff
open
Carroll.
enrollment.
You just
Jim?
never know.
No, so I gotta run. I gotta go home, let the dogs out, and come back.